What is going on, everybody? This is episode 173 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I was just talking before the show started about the thumbnail because, of course, we have to have boobs in the thumbnail.
Her rule, not mine.
It's just gets the clicks. That's what we do here.
It's,
we know what makes the money.
Literal clickbait. Of
course.
And we have a guest host today. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimo. I'm a writer for timcast.com.
How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back. I feel like it's been a while since I was here.
We're happy to have you back.
What have you been writing about?
I've been writing about a bunch of stuff. There's some stuff going on in Taiwan. I am interested in a removed cabin from Airbnb.
I saw that earlier.
A cabin with some history.
Georgia is granting... It says that parents who have unborn children can claim them as dependents. So It's a wild time. There's a lot of legislation that's coming into action. So I definitely think everyone should go click on the read tab at timcast.com.
Did you when you did your last IRL? Have you smoothed out your outro?
My outro was better, and I mentioned that I'd be here today, and I even worked in a social media and a call. I would say it here too. Kentucky got hit by a ton of flooding, and I think if anyone finds ways to donate materials to them, it's really worth doing because Eastern Kentucky has been really devastated by serious flooding. But my intros need work. I swear every time Tim looks at me, he's like, and Hannah Claire's here, I forget what I'm doing. And
Hannah Claire's here.
I'm like, I am. And
Long pause.
Right. And you were great when you sat in Ian's chair. You were like, I'm not Ian Crossland. You were funny. And I was like, there are all these rocks here. What am I doing?
It's all very distracting.
I saw you were just mentioning the flooding. I just saw that there's going to be a documentary or a biopic or a documentary about Katrina that's coming out fairly soon. That feels maybe I'm just not hip to it, but it feels like that could be
They think it was an inside job.
Well, I didn't think that, but I'm saying that's kind of with all the documentaries and stuff that gets made, that seems like a very important part of our history in the last 20 years. That would be very important to talk about. So.
It's a huge part of our history. And in part two, New Orleans, it's always had trouble with flooding. It's just the way the city is laid out. But it has never fully recovered from Katrina. Yeah. And that is crazy. I mean, I think in some ways too, we think about Houston, which had a lot of flooding a couple years ago. And there were really cool shows of community and people rallying to deal with the homes and the flooding. But also years and years later, people are still living in camper vans or they're displaced from the original home. The effects of this is a terrible comparison, but I had a family friend whose house burned down, and initially, of course, people were sympathetic. How can we help you? But years later, they were still struggling with rebuilding and insurance and whatever else. And for the most part, everyone else had kind of moved on because you're not living that experience directly. So I definitely think that with the Kentucky flooding, it's worth intervening if you can, finding ways to donate, finding ways to support people, because I just really cannot imagine there's some terrible stories coming out. Anyways, let me start off with a depressing update about the news.
No, that's fine. It's good to get an update from people. I've been trying to ask the guests, I asked Shane, I was what's going on with Inverted World, getting more info on what everybody's working on when they're here, because most of the people, everyone that works here that comes to the show is part of this company. So.
Do you want to hear my favorite Shane Cashman story?
Yes.
Or at least my initial introduction to Shane Cashman. We have an editor named Chris Carr, who I think's been on this show. And when he started, I was a news writer, and we really didn't have anyone else staffed. And Shane was writing, and he had sent Shane an article being like, hey, could you cover this for the site today? And Shane responded with yeah, is it about ghosts?
Oh, yeah.
It had not been made clear yet that Shane is a specialized writer. He's incredibly talented. I love seeing what's going on in Bird World. But he is not... He's not writing for the newsroom.
Would it be interesting to have him write regular stories and Hannah Claire write ghost stories maybe one day? That'd be kind of cool.
They can switch places. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So we got
ghost stories would be boring.
The ghost stories would.
The ghost allegedly said. He reportedly came through the wall. Who have not been able to confirm if the ghost is rap. Yeah, terrible.
I would love that. What if the ghost actually had its own rep? That'd be cool. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about Beyonce and a certain word that seems to keep getting musicians in trouble. It feels like a setup to me. It feels like a setup. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Marilyn Monroe and some pushback against Ana de Armas and her casting because of what people are complaining about with the way she's trying to...
Heavy foreign accent.
Yes. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi finale kind of really letting everyone down and some pushing into there's some promotional material coming out for Andor, which just... it made me laugh, and then it made me cry, and then it made me sigh, and then I was just like, this is Hollywood in 2022, so that's fine. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do Podluck. But first, before we get there,
Oh no, what's happening?
We have a special Chet formation.
we are going to figure out what Chet has to say. And he has
As usual.
As usual. So what do you think Chet Hanks has to say today? Let's find out. So it's 11 p.m. or this was like last night. So this is the night before. So this is like a 24-hour.
This is 3 hours before Chet wakes up in the morning.
Yes.
By the way.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna turn this down. We're gonna listen to Chet's advice for us.
It's midnight.
It's 11:20.
I'm about to start
enough.
work, responding to people's DMs. This means that sometimes I only get a couple hours of sleep a night. If that's the case, so be it. This is the only time I can respond to people. If I respond to people during the day, that's like 5 in the morning back home. No one's even awake yet. So if this means staying up, only getting a couple hours of sleep, then this is what it is. We don't stop with our goals just because circumstances change.
We do not.
We just fucking adapt.
What is
If I have to take a
Yeah.
nap during the day, I take a nap during the day. I'm
he
still
on
going to be up at
vacation?
4:45.
He's in
I'm
Greece.
still going to be putting in the work with my workouts, giving it
appears to be
everything.
suffering.
I'm still going to be giving y'all everything so I can get to as many people as possible. If you're ready and you're watching this right now, then DM me your phone number. Let's fucking get it. No more playing games. No more fucking excuses.
I'm DMing my
this
phone
is what
number
it
right
takes.
now.
Let's go.
Right now.
I know.
Hi, this is Ghost Girl.
He's gonna sign you
Hello?
up for like robocalls.
Oh, by the way,
Oh no.
he says I'm still going to be up at 4:45 in
Yeah.
the morning.
Again. Let's fucking go.
He just wanted to let you know that he doesn't wake up at 4:45.
That's
he
a
wakes
little
up at 4.
worrying because like it makes me think like certain performance enhancements are involved.
I thought that too, but it also could be just like if you're. I don't know how long he's been sober, but when you're newly sober, like even me, like I've been sober for years, I don't sleep very well. Like I don't wake up in the like I don't like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. What I would also argue is like I have friends who, when like after things stopped being so locked down, but they were still remote working, they were like, I am gonna go figure out a way to work from Europe for a month. But that meant they had to be on conference calls on East Coast time, right? So they were like, okay, so we're working from 4 p.m. to midnight or whatever because that's what their time is like. I mean, if he's being serious and he is working and trying to get on calls or like do whatever, I could believe that he just didn't adjust to the jet lag and he's like intentionally
Okay.
staying up at night. But it makes it look more wild than it is. Like really what you're doing is just living in a nocturnal life. You're not partying so hard. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, he made a point to point out. He's like, I'm in the Times Square. I've got my coffee. He wanted to like let you know that he wasn't drinking. He wasn't doing anything like that. So, Chet, I have faith.
I also have my coffee.
You have your.
Who cares, Chet?
Yeah, you have faith in your. I have faith.
By
in
the
Chet.
way, I did DM him the word empire the other day, and it says scene. He left me on red.
Oh my god.
Does Chet go on tour?
But he technically moved me to primary instead of general, right?
That's good.
Good.
That's good. That's good. So
Good
we
sign.
we know that Chet is he at least read the message. Hopefully he
Okay.
gets back to you. Maybe he's got. I'm sure he's got a full inbox.
He's very busy. He's a
What's
busy man.
the best line you've ever gotten from Chet in all this time that we've been listening to Chet Formations? Because you guys actually do
I
this
wish
every
you
day.
had seen "Wake the up."
Yeah.
I love that one.
We should embroider that on a T-shirt.
My favorite
Like
is
when
just,
he's angry, I love it.
and I like it when he's like out of breath because he needs to show you that even when he's like done working out, he's still going to share his wisdom.
The one
with
in
you.
the parking lot, I think, is going to be my favorite for a while.
Yeah. Or it was like
What?
it was like
He was like in a parking lot at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
just absolutely screaming at his phone about like how no one thinks he's able to go through authentic pain.
He's
It's-
such a
it's a
complex
lot.
character.
I know.
I don't know what to do with this person.
Right?
so
He's a man of mystery.
we love you, Chet. Just
Do we?
keep doing your work.
We do love him.
We do love him.
That's the
We
official
do.
party line.
Yep, the royal we.
If we're on this podcast, you love Chet.
Yes, we do. All right, so we're going to get right into it. So this is the first topic says Beyonce to remove offensive Renaissance lyric after ableist backlash.
Sorry, I just hit my fist on the table.
You okay? You
Pop
okay?
culture crisis is a contact sport.
It is. So Beyonce, if you guys remember, about what was it? A couple months ago? 2 months
It
ago?
was 6 weeks ago exactly. I know this because the Australian disability activist Hannah
Davini? Yeah.
posted the original tweet that got Lizzo in trouble for having the word spaz in her lyrics of girls.
And remember that all these celebrities bend over backwards to like accommodate and change and grow. Change and grow.
Yeah, so the original tweet went viral, and that was how this whole controversy started. It blew up and was covered in all of these mainstream publications.
And it's that
then Lizzo responded by saying she would re-record it as something else.
And the controversy is is it specifically cerebral palsy groups are saying
the activist
words,
herself has cerebral palsy,
and they're saying that it's a derogatory word for someone with cerebral palsy.
Yes.
The word, can I say it?
Yeah.
Spaz.
Yeah.
Brace for you too.
You also said that it was regional specific, right?
Yeah,
I had never heard that.
When I was looking at the lyric page for Heated, which is the Beyonce song in question, I went to like the explanation under the line that has spaz in it, and it was explaining her decision to re-record it and remove it. And it was because her and Lizzo, being from the US, would have thought the word spaz just means like freak out or something. But in the UK, it's considered a much more offensive term.
See, this is the problem with globalism.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't just perform for the audience's sensibilities closest to you that you're familiar with. You have to perform and base all of your actions on the sensibilities of literally everyone, when you would have no way of knowing, unless you lived there, what their sensibilities are.
That's why no one can be globally marketable.
Exactly.
Anymore.
It's like saying the British
Except
people,
maybe K-pop groups.
British people love "See You Next Tuesday," do they not? And they we don't. A lot of women here consider that
I don't know
rightly
if that's
offensive.
a slur. Is that a slur?
I'm just trying to think of examples of like something that would be more palatable there. Like if you watch shows in Britain, they use that word fairly loosely, and if you heard that here, that would be considered a big deal.
Well, I'm personally really sad that we'll be losing this great lyric. If anyone can find it or read it, I don't feel like reading it on air. But
Mary has. I thought you said you wanted to read it. Or was that Dane that yesterday?
I don't want to read it because I don't even like the song.
I will highlight
in
it
the first
right
place.
here.
But
I will highlight it.
It's used in the exact same way that Lizzo used it in Girls. It's just like using it as a verb to say like, freak out, go crazy, something like that.
I just think as a culture, what are we going to do without these really, deep and beautiful phrases that really help us reflect on our humanity, If we can't use this term, how are we going to really understand what she's experiencing? This is obviously sarcasm for anyone in the chat.
Davini's article was originally in an Australian publication, and then The Guardian republished it with a different headline.
I have that
more I guess it catches more eyes. When Beyonce dropped the same ableist slur as Lizzo on her new album, my heart sank.
I love the language.
She said that tweet of mine, which explained how the slur was connected to my disability, cerebral palsy, took me less than 5 minutes to write, and it went viral, landing on the front page of global news outlets, including the BBC, New York Times, and the Washington Post.
I am very important.
Lizzo herself even took notice, changing the lyric and giving us all a master class in how to be a true and effective ally.
What they mean by that is bend the knee quickly, bend the knee very, very quickly, and prostrate yourself before the mob and say, please, 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 please forgive me, even though no harm or harmful intent was meant in the first place.
Do you think that there are other people who have like muscular disorders or like convulsive movement issues who are like, no, cerebral palsy, like that's our term. You can't pick our thing.
It's kind of like
or I mean, this happened. Sorry, like with the Redskins, when they resolved that controversy, you would get some Native Americans who are like, no, we don't mind. It doesn't bother us. Same thing with any of like the Chiefs or any of the other teams. I mean, in some ways, I wonder if we're going to see a backlash of people being like, this is not a slur, and please stop making us victims.
If one person with cerebral palsy is offended by this word, then they are considered the representation for all of that group.
There was a coach, is like somebody for the Dallas Cowboys recently used an offensive term for little person, and then Hornswoggle, who used to work for the WWE.
Also, that name Hornswoggle,
it's the greatest name ever.
Another level.
Came out and said like, look, I don't care if you use that term. Like, you do not. It's the same thing with Peter Dinklage. You don't get to speak for all of one group. But like Mary said, if one is offended, then it's the same as all being offended in the eyes of social media and the public.
It was more interesting too that she included in her article an acknowledgement of Beyonce's race, as if that's relevant. Because you're leveraging each other's points
their
in
identity
this system.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is the other person white? If
Yeah.
they're Australian, I assume they're not Aboriginal.
She is. So she said, Beyonce's commitment to storytelling, musically and visually, is unparalleled, as is her power to have the world paying attention to the narratives, struggles, and nuanced lived experience of being a black woman, a world I can only ever understand as an ally and have no desire to overshadow.
They're just
But that
trembling.
doesn't excuse her use of ableist language that gets used and ignored all too often.
They're just all so terrified of that's what I love about it. They're all terrified of each other.
Standoff.
Yeah, it's literally I can't even say that term anymore.
What term?
A Spider-Man standoff.
Yes, yeah,
definitely
it's
not a
Spider-Man.
Mexico.
yeah, I can't
related standoff.
But like, yeah, so they're all terrified of each other.
A Mexican
Yeah,
standoff.
because
a
of their
Mexicali standoff.
because of their identity characteristics. It's like a weird progressive stack standoff in which everybody leverages their own identity traits to make them which one is the biggest victim today, and they're all pointing guns at each other.
And they'll ultimately end up interfighting. I mean, as much as this comment is trying to be like, I have acknowledged, but like she is saying that her experience, her concerns about ableist comments or, in some ways being offended by this ultimately outweigh anything she's doing. Like, what if Beyonce or Lizzo had responded with being like, well, in the American Black community, spaz is an important term. Like, we use it regularly. So by
then what
me,
do you do?
Like, then what do you do?
That's
At what point do you guys like realize who is the heaviest weight here? It becomes easier to back down and to rewrite it as soon as you're challenged.
But now, like, I think this activist, because of what happened with Lizzo, that was like a success for her. Now she thinks that she can control the headlines, and she kind of is. Like, she's making news out of her personal complaints and making it seem like there's an uproar where it's entirely fabricated.
As a straight white male, I'm wondering when I'm finally going to get in on this whole.
Never.
The answer is never.
If I'm because I'm deaf in one ear, does that mean I can say something if somebody makes? I can be half offended if somebody makes a comment about the deaf community?
If someone jokingly says, I can't hear you, you can say, that's ableist.
Yes. I could do that.
But the thing is, you are also a white male, and so on that scale, I don't think that you are enough. You know what I'm saying?
People, as somebody who is cripplingly ADHD, hear like people talk about it in the terms of ableism online, and even that bothers me because I was not raised to think about those traits as something to worry about what other people's opinions or words are of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I also think that my personal preference for myself, and probably if I had kids or people I care about, I wouldn't want anyone to be boiled down to one identity marker, especially when it's something that you don't have control over.
Yeah.
So I understand where this activist who has cerebral palsy, obviously it's a huge part of her life experience, and in some ways she has seen a lot of she's realized she has a fair amount of influence, and being proactive in that might give her a sense of purpose and might be fulfilling. On the other hand, like, is this the thing that you feel sets you apart from everyone else? Like, how much of this disease are you using, or like, does it ultimately make you feel important or special? Like, there are probably a million reasons this girl has talents and benefits. Like, I'm not trying to trash her, but like, I don't think that becoming what you believe people discriminate you against, like using that as your number one label, is going to help you in the long term at all. I think it's going to eat away at your psyche.
She's even saying that in this article, that paying attention to this and writing about all of this and calling attention to it is draining her of all of her energy, saying it's not very often that I don't know what to say, rendered speechless by ignorance, sadness, and a simmering anger born of bone-deep exhaustion. But that's how I feel right now.
That is to me, that is a trait that you cannot. You have to change. There's a fundamental set to her nature that puts those traits forward, right? Mm-hmm. So she always feels. I have a feeling that those feelings are very consistent with her, even when articles like this aren't coming out.
That she's just a neurotic person.
Yeah, I mean nothing against her. I'm just saying that a lot of the people that I found that I've met that are like that, it's more than just one aspect of their personality. It reaches much deeper than that. It's like when people talk about. Some people love drama and infighting, like that. They feed off of it. They enjoy it. To me, I find it extremely draining and a waste of time. But everyone's different, right? And
I think a lot of these like internet literate so-called activists actually are just busybodies, and they do quite enjoy the power that they get to leverage against people and the control that they get. But then that made this interaction between The Dream and Diane Warren even more interesting.
Who is The Dream? I'm sorry.
He's one of the producers credited on that song and on most of the songs on Beyonce's new album.
This is fascinating.
So Diane Warren tweeted something cryptically saying, how can there be 24 writers on a song? She is a songwriter, by the way. Like, that is her profession. She's more known for the songs she's written for other people than her own. And then she replied to it with, "This isn't meant as shade. I'm just curious." And then this producer, The Dream, saw this tweet and responded, basically assuming malicious intent on her part.
Emotivism.
Yes. He said, "You mean, how does our black culture have so many writers? Well, it started because we couldn't afford certain things starting out. So we started sampling and it became an art form, a major part of the black culture, hip hop, in America. Had that era not happened, who knows? You good?"
Oh, this is such, I feel like this is such a strange overreaction.
And then he replied to that with, "By the way, I know it's not a one-on-one writing contest you're looking for from no one over here. You don't want that smoke." And it's like saying you don't want that smoke to an elderly woman is just like insane to me.
She's like reading it. She's like, what?
And you know I love you, but come on, stop acting like your records haven't been sampled. And then he had like a rocket ship emoji. I don't know what that's about, but this is literally just like cyberbullying an elderly person
It's
who like did not sign up
well,
for.
and her response here, where she's like, "I didn't mean it."
She immediately recoiled. It was like, "What do you mean?"
There's no need to be mean about
She
it.
said, "I didn't mean that as an attack or as disrespect. I didn't know this. Thank you for making me aware of it. No need to be mean about it."
And then she said no need to be mean about it.
Yeah, and then she said, "It's probably samples that add up to the amount of writers." And then she tweeted, "I meant no disrespect to Beyonce, who I've worked with and admire. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding."
Why would you even want to engage on Twitter when you know that this is everyone's going to use them? Like I said, emotivism. They're going to attribute the absolute positive worst intent that you could ever possibly have to the most benign of things that you say, because it makes them feel good about pushing back on something that wasn't there to begin with.
Yeah, what I was thinking after reading about all of this is, like, why is Beyonce the only one held accountable for this lyric when there are actually
24 writers on like a typical song?
I looked at the credits for writing on Heated, and there are like 10 people other than herself credited for writing, and like a lot of them overlap, but like 5 other people credited for the production of it. Drake is one of the co-writers on it, and none of them are getting the same backlash. It's only her because she's the face of it, but I doubt she had much to do with the writing of the song anyway.
But she didn't say no to it, and she's the name, like, so it's going to be easier to attack her, right?
Yeah.
If I say,
it seems like even her music group is the one responding to the backlash.
I couldn't even tell you the name of her music group, though. Like, it's much easier in terms of a headline for it to be linked to Beyonce. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People are going to click on that. If I say The Dream, you might click on it, but way more people recognize Beyonce. I also think that, like, I understand that, like, I might not be an expert on how sampling is credited on albums, but I think questioning why songs are huge projects with lots and lots of people, but the lyrics are not that complicated.
They're repetitive and limited in meaning. I think more people are involved in it, and we were just comparing this to writers' rooms for films and TV shows, where when you involve too many people, it starts to lose the plot.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has to have a purpose on it. And it's definitely not my industry or my area of expertise. I'm happy to be corrected on this. But, like, I think it was Joe Rogan who, or maybe it was someone else, some commentator was saying, do you remember Miley Cyrus had a song called Malibu? It's just like a pop song. You hear it when you're, like, in an H&M. It's a couple years ago at this point. But one of the main lyrics is, like, something about, like, next to you in Malibu. And then she just kind of oohs a lot. They were, like, I think upwards of 5 people credited. Like, there are actually she repeats 2 sentences over and over again and, like, oohs. It's kind of got a pretty sound. I understand why it's pop music, but, like, why did it take 5 people to come up with this? In some ways, like, are you guys operating a money laundering operation? Like, what
how many people were in the room for that, and what specific involvement did they have? Is that recorded? Like, what each person contributed to the song?
Yeah.
It reminds me of, speaking of Miley Cyrus.
The Dream's going to tweet at me now.
She did speaking of Dream, Miley Cyrus did a song called Dream, D-R-E-A-M. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ghostface Killah, but he had a song called Cream. Cash rules everything around me.
Oh, it's like she did it as
Drugs
an acronym?
Rule, she did Drugs Rule Everything Around Me. And it said featuring Ghostface Killah. And I'm like, wow. That doesn't, and then in the end, it's just one of his verses from Cream that they just bought to use in the song.
Did she, like, cover it? Is that what they
did?
Or they just fully sampled his
They just
verse?
used the lyrics at the end as if it was part of that song, but it was from a different song. It was from the original. So I was like, well, I was just bait and hooked into listening to that.
Now, I haven't listened to Heated, but I didn't see any songs mentioned for, like, that were sampled on Heated.
So are there like pressed albums for this that are going to be collector's items because they're going to have the lyrics on there?
That is
Let's make some money.
I see what you mean. The physical media thing is encroaching upon music as well.
Buy your physical
They're
copies.
retroactively editing music and TV.
Yeah.
I mean, we could look it up if they had released. I mean, if they're on sale anywhere. I assume essentially her record company would be recalling them.
I just posted a meme in my on Instagram the other day. It's like a Choco Taco in a freezer. It says 1,200 or best offer. No
we
low
can't
balls.
have
I know
Choco
what I have
Taco.
here.
That was my first
We can't
comment.
have Stranger Things. We can't have Beyonce.
We're
It's
losing
all
everything, dude.
getting recalled.
For this, what chooses? Like, I want to know where they draw the line. Like, because rappers say the most vile, disgusting words to describe women. And that will never change.
And not just women, but just about anything.
Anything. So why is it because she's mainstream pop? Is it because she's Beyonce?
She's more than mainstream pop. Like, she's almost so recognizable. She's like, anything she releases is a genre in and of itself. Like,
But keep going. I was just gonna. I think technically she has made less money and sold fewer albums than Rihanna. Like, she's built herself into a brand.
Yeah.
She is incredibly successful. That's not to say she isn't, but you know, I think in some ways she has had such a cultural, like, similarly to maybe like Madonna or Oprah. Like, there are certain people who start to, even if their careers aren't as fantastically successful in terms of the numbers, their names mean something. Yeah.
Is this karma for faking that national anthem performance all those years aago?
Beyonce did that?
Yeah.
Is that, like, proven?
They did the thing where they said, like, she pulls her earpiece out and then it turns out that she was lip syncing it anyways.
Do you remember Fergie's national anthem? I feel like at least it sucked, but at least it was authentic.
Yes.
You know?
Beyonce also married Jay-Z. Like, there's a really fun, like, one of the worst memes that I've ever seen, like, where it completely misses the point. It's like Jay-Z and Beyonce, like, on the beach, and Jay-Z's got no shirt on. He's, like, kind of overweight. And it says, like, Beyonce, like, this guy married Beyonce. Shoot your shot, kings. I'm like, he's like a billionaire. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, she also makes a lot of songs, like, talking about the fact that he's cheated on her.
Yeah,
and
he's, I mean, I'm not against this, but they were like a decade apart in age. They started dating when she was like 19.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm curious about is if now her production team, Renaissance, from what I understand, is like part of a 3-part release. Like, she hasn't released music in 6 years, and then it's going to be like one of, I don't know, a trilogy of albums. Does this mean they are now going back and re-listening to all the other songs, being like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
Do you think this might be a PR stunt as well, given the fact that it's so recent compared to the Lizzo thing? Like, it's the exact same word. It's almost like they added that to the lyrics after the Lizzo incident.
I think that
would be funny.
They
and ghoulish. And
I know,
funny.
but like they did this with the Me Too probe, and then this is the only other reason that I've heard about Beyonce's new album.
She also had the song, like she apparently sampled the Khalees song that got pushed back on by Khalees. She's like, you stole my music.
What?
Yes, we didn't cover it on here because it just didn't seem important enough. But then the one, so the Khalees thing.
They're creating controversy about this album that no one cares about. I feel like the hype for Beyonce is at like Coachella and nowhere else.
Yeah, I think she's well past the climax of her career, right? She's not as popular. There are way more. I mean, Doja Cat could outsell her. I bet there are people like.
Oh,
it's not
I
that
don't
she
know
doesn't.
about that.
It's not that she doesn't have a loyal fan base, but like, she is sort of the early 2000s era. People will still go see her, but I don't think that she is the trend-setting current music icon that she once was.
Those millennials aren't buying houses. They'll pay for those really expensive tickets. They got this.
Well, the other part is that before this album, I guess this album leaked online.
That
and
was
like
what we
her
thought that was.
extremely loyal fans were like, we're not going to listen to it. And she was like, you guys, thanks. That's great.
Embarrassing. That's really embarrassing.
Isn't that weird?
Like that's really no.
Which that was the one that I was like, oh, that's a stunt. They pre-released it on time to
Also,
be like reminding you that you're loyal to me.
Is
you know
she
what I mean?
like cucking Jay-Z by not releasing only on Tidal?
Isn't
yes,
Tidal
she
going?
is. I don't know if Tidal's still around.
Yeah, I thought Tidal went under.
Okay, I just want to read the one more response from Icon. This is the one that where he says, "All G, but don't do that. It's young writers, producers, and artists that need to know whatever way they make it and however they contribute is worth it. We all aren't as fortunate at first. Every idea is art. It's more fun together, in my opinion. I could be wrong."
You are wrong.
Yeah.
I hate that she's genuinely sorry. She says sorry, and then he's like, all good, but don't do that. It's like, you already scolded her.
Yeah.
She's an old, out of touch woman.
Yeah. So,
And also, she's perfectly, like, as a songwriter, a professional songwriter for decades, would be perfectly within her wheelhouse to comment on how many people should be involved in writing a song.
Well, and also how the industry has changed.
Yeah.
That it is now about sampling as opposed to original work.
It's
and about
not racial. Like, it was never racial, and he made it that way to, like,
Because-
But it's
bludgeon
because
her.
he's looking for it.
Yeah.
He is looking for this to be an attack on culture or identity when it's really not. I mean, if anything, it's maybe an attack on professional standards, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
did you need to
never
pay that
ends.
many people to be there? But like,
'Cause
he
he
made a
was-
controversy out of nothing.
He's involved in he's like credited in Heated, and now he's mad that they're getting attacked for using that slur, and now he's gonna use his leverage to hit back at whoever.
this never ends. This goes on forever. Until
you have to
we
get
get
off
rid
Twitter.
until we get rid of social media, this goes on forever. First of all, one of the things that I really do believe is that the reason these conversations even happen now is because people can form more coherent phrases, sentences, and arguments online than they could if they were trying to
See,
do
I'm
this in person.
convincing you to be against the printing press.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to
My
talk.
favorite political position of
It's,
Mary.
it's not that. It's not that. It's that being able to write it is a lot different than being able to phrase it in person, where the dynamics of the conversation are different anyways. Right? So this would never happen in fact, I would pay to see this happen at like an art gallery. Like they're at like a gallery opening and he's just lecturing this old songwriter about this. That would make for hilarious video, but it would never happen.
I think we're at a cultural shifting point where that actually would happen.
But I don't think he would be able to make the same argument.
Wasn't there a guy who like, I can't remember what this was, and I hate to misquote it, but there was a guy, I think maybe in Times Square, who was like, if you renounce white privilege, come kneel in front of me. And like people did
What?
weird stuff. Yeah, I'll have to find this video.
Yeah, but that's not making a coherent argument. That's just making a demand.
But
I'm
that's
saying
what this
that-
guy's not making a coherent argument. He's just saying like, don't attack what we're doing. We did what we wanted, which you could have just said because we wanted 24 people to be working on
And
this.
she never commented on sampling either.
Yeah.
Like he made this into something. It's not because he was looking for the fight.
Let's do super chats.
Yeah. Caper2X said, "Welcome, Hannah Claire,
Hello.
from the TFDF School Marms chapter." What?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, Dane thought it was.
Oh yeah, he.
What did he say? It was?
I forgot. Dang it.
Caper2X, please explain. I'm lost.
I really love that I'm the school marm of the household. That's that's doing wonders for me.
Managed Wig 42 sent us 99 cents with no message.
Thank you, Managed Wig.
Thank you. Naya Mechwork said, Mary sent you a link to a Power Armor vid via Insta DM. Yeah, I saw that, but I haven't had time to open that yet. I'll look at that. Thank you. James Orenthal Wen said, "See you next Tuesday" is a term of endearment in Commonwealth countries. Okay. Also, Mary using the thumbnail to resurrect the term boob tube. Slay queen.
I have an even better
Slay.
thumbnail for the segment that this will be featured in tomorrow. Frankly,
Brett can outdo it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's right from the album cover.
C. Lin said, "I know K-pop will occasionally come under controversy since a common word in the Korean language can sometimes sound like the N-word." I thought that was Chinese, though.
Yeah, I remember like that. That happens a lot
Thought that
with
was a
like
Mandarin.
for like when they're using it on like gaming, like when they're multiplayer on gaming, like for games.
I think not speaking English saves K-pop stars from so much controversy.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I think it's low-key like this imperialist belief that like people who don't speak English are like less sophisticated. I still think that like lives on in how we evaluate the actions and characters of.
I also think that by not
K-pop.
speaking English, only the Korean like society can evaluate their lyrics, and they are much more nationalistic, and so they're not going to publicly denounce K-pop stars
Because they care about like PR.
because they don't want anyone to think that they're like locked arm in arm, being like, you can't trash our superstars. Like, first off, because they know it's a money making industry, but also
Thank
like
you.
Thank you.
you know what I mean. So like in some ways, it insulates
They almost
them.
have their backs, whereas we just attack our entertainers like constantly.
Because there's a deep hatred for this country from most of our entertainers anyways. I
Yeah.
do believe that.
It's
Or at the
both-
very least, it's not,
both ways.
If it's not hatred, it's this constant feeling that things could be better, that it will never be better in the way that they're
like it could be better, but I'm not going to do anything about it.
Well-
there was a video the other day of Candace Cameron Bure, I don't know,
Bure.
is it Bure, doing like a 4th of July dance, and she's singing "Born in the USA," and like somebody's husband who isn't famous and nobody cares
Hillary
about.
Duff's
like,
husband.
Hillary Duff's like,
what is happening to me?
don't you know what those song lyrics mean? I'm like, dude, shut. That's nobody cares. We understand that is not what the lyrics to that the lyrics to that song were very critical of the U.S. But that's not what somebody doing it on social media is doing it for, right? But they have to point it out because they love to take every opportunity they can to trash this country. I hate that, and that's weird too because I'm plenty critical. It's like a weird dichotomy where
it's like they're forcing you into a corner you
I'm
don't want to be in.
plenty critical of our government.
Yeah.
I am plenty critical of many aspects of our society. But at the end of the day, it's all you've got. If something bad does happen, that's one thing that like you're stuck with. You're stuck with your neighbors, your countrymen, the people that are around you. And I think that they never want to distinguish between criticizing the government and just criticizing the country full stop, because the celebrities don't hate the government. They hate the people here.
I think that it became sort of trendy to be like, I don't even like America. Probably in, I don't know, pre-Trump, but
That was
It was
going
like
on
in the
even-
early 2010s when
Yeah.
all the teenage girls started wearing a Union Jack.
when I was in Spain, there was a lot of like weird anti-American, like they were all amazed I wasn't fat.
well, it became. I mean, the other countries make fun of us for all kinds of things. Like theoretically, we make fun of them for I don't know, Spanish bowls. I don't know, like whatever you make fun of them for. But I think ultimately Americans, and especially the American youth, have gotten to a point where it's not just that it's like trendy to be like, oh, I don't really even like America. It's not as cultural. It's not as sophisticated as somewhere else. It's also important to be ashamed of things in this
Yes.
country that have gone wrong. And I
to
think
performatively
Right.
like
They don't
flashlight
actually care.
yourself for
Right.
being American.
right. And I think part of it is, you know, Brett's totally right. I am not against criticizing government. I'm not against like advocating for things that you think your country has erred, but like ultimately that's much more productive when you're not like, I just want to throw the whole thing out. Like I would like to see America succeed and I would like to see it thrive. And that's why I keep a critical eye on things that are going on that are wrong. It's not because I've decided that it's the worst place ever. Like that's why I still live here. And people take for granted that they are even allowed to criticize their government because they're here.
We're gonna talk about it more in the Andor article part of the Star
Yeah.
Wars thing.
Daniel J. Corica said, "What are the super sensitive people going to do when they hear 90s rap songs?"
Maybe that's why I'm so desensitized, because I grew up listening to 90s rap. That like I was listening to Two Live Crew and Bone Thugs and Harmony. and all of this music that was so fantastically offensive. It was incredible, and I love it, and it has a special place in my heart. But I also don't attribute the art. Remember, it's art. Remember, we talked about the other day about, like, you shouldn't be allowed to use your song lyrics against you, they shouldn't be allowed to prosecute you in the song lyrics you use, right? Because it's a form of art, and that's not a confession. Shouldn't Beyonce be able to use that word in her lyrics because it's art, because it's not an actual commentary?
Because it doesn't
Also,
represent her
Yes.
personal character.
Yeah.
because she's an American, and so her vernacular and her language is based in American slang.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry if it's offensive somewhere else, bleep it out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Daniel J. Corica said, BC Boys' album Paul's Boutique has the record for the most samples on one album. It was made before copyright laws changed.
It's
How many is it? Do they say?
It doesn't say.
No.
But all I know is that, like, sampling is a huge part of hip hop. There's a couple of documentaries.
Thank you, The Dream. You're letting me know
There's
about
a lot
this.
of documentaries that I've watched about how that process evolved. That's kind of fascinating, but not from people that are going to say stuff like this to some poor old lady on Twitter who's just trying to be part of. Maybe if you're old, we should put parental locks on Twitter. Like, just if you're
She
over
just
a certain
wanted to be part of the conversation,
Conversation.
Brett.
It's like you lose, like, at a certain point, they're
Isn't
like,
that
you can't
the-
drive at night,
the
also you can't
slogan
tweet.
That
of
was-
Twitter is like join the conversation.
It was something like that.
That's
Unless,
funny.
unless we don't like you, then
The
we should probably
free
get out.
speech wing of the free speech party.
Teehee. Waffle
Media
Sensei said Beyonce never said spaz. Jonathan Byers never creeped on Nancy, and Oceania has always been at war with East Asia.
Thank you, Waffle Sensei.
Thank you for correcting the record on all of these things. What would we do without you?
What would we do without Waffle
Corey
Sensei?
Bowleg
We'd be
said,
eating pancakes.
when driving my semi for hours and hours, this conversation format really helps. I want to thank your entire group. With love, another Timcast fan.
Ah, so
I
fun.
want to print
That's
that
very
out
nice.
and
Yeah.
put it on the wall somewhere. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's such a cool comment.
Nathan Koss said this argument happening right next to the eco-activists glued to paintings.
What? I
They
don't know about
glue
this.
themselves to
Yeah, there were a
paintings?
couple. I think it was the Louvre. There were some
Didn't
environmental
you
activists.
covered like the Mona Lisa getting vandalized?
Yeah, but I think that guy was just having a mental breakdown and was
Okay,
like,
go off,
it's for
King."
the internet or it's for the environment. But there were some activists. I could look it up. I think it was at a span. I can't remember where, but they literally glued themselves to some art because they were like, the environment's bad. Or like, what was that actor who glued himself to a Starbucks counter? Which if
Yeah,
you're going to pick anywhere to
oh,
glue
yeah.
yourself.
The guy from that show from
Frick, what was his name?
I don't remember his name, but yeah,
It's just blip in
we
the
were
radar.
pumped. We were pumped because it was he was from the show Succession, I believe.
Yeah.
And we were talking about. I was like, it's such a throwback to not be talking. He wasn't just talking about climate change. He was talking
He
about like
wants oat milk
Yeah.
offered on the Starbucks menu.
the guy.
And he is going to affect change. I think from now on, when I want things to happen, I'm just going to glue myself to an inconvenient surface.
I'm just every day I become more clear that you should not just be.
He's also bringing back planking.
Yes. Don't just
Wow.
not. It's not enough to not be an activist, guys. Remember, you have to be actively anti-activist. It's not cool. Tell everyone that's doing it it's not cool. It's lame.
Caper2X said Taínos for Dave Font, the Puerto Rican natives.
Taínos.
Gold Mecro said it's Mandarin.
Yep.
The word is similar to yeah, it's like a filler word.
Yep. Well, you don't want to be saying that when you're in your Call of Duty lobby, or you're going to get in trouble.
Okay, I'll stop
So,
immediately.
All right, we're going to talk about Marilyn Monroe. We're going to talk about Marilyn Monroe and the casting of Anna de
I
Armas.
so wish we could play the trailer for you guys,
But we
so
cannot.
you know what we're talking about. But basically, people are mad that she is using a Cuban accent in the movie. She doesn't sound American.
I will say that she does make an effort. I listened to. I went back and put back on her in The Gray Man, and then in No Time to Die. She is clearly attempting to do.
Yeah,
a
the
Marilyn Monroe
the breathy,
voice.
mousy tone
The
that
very-
she uses is great. But
It's
they're
the-
not addressing the fact that she still sounds Cuban in the movie. Like when Marilyn Monroe was clearly like a New Yorker, you can hear from her interviews and her acting that she it's a very distinct accent.
When you played a clip earlier, I said there was I don't remember what she said, but it was the most New York sounding thing I had ever heard in my life. So it says Marilyn Monroe's estate jumped to Ana de Armas's defense after the trailer for the forthcoming Netflix film Blonde sparked backlash, which will be rated NC-17. So
really,
maybe we should be reviewing
on
Netflix. I mean, NC-17 in Netflix just means it would be the same as like TVMA. There is no NC-17 for a not theater release. So after watching the trailer on July 28th, fans rushed to social media to slam casting directors over De Armas's accent in the film.
I have this image of people scrambling to their computer.
Slammed.
Yes,
I'm kind of disappointed that this is on Netflix, by the way. I think this is something I would want to watch on a big screen.
Yep. It says many complain that the Cuban actress's accent is too heavy in the film and that she sounds nothing like Monroe. So it goes with the quote here. It says, "Am I the only one not surprised that De Armas sounded bad in the Blonde trailer?" One critic tweeted. "Her accent is very heavy. It was going to take a lot for her to convincingly sound like Marilyn." I do wonder. I mean, Ana de Armas is a very in-demand talent right now, and she has a look that clearly, physically, they were able to make her look very good.
I was surprised.
Yes. I watched parts of The Gray Man again. She doesn't look anything like this. So they did the makeup department, the hair, the wardrobe. It goes a long way in portraying image for somebody on screen. But this backlash was always going to happen. But on one hand, I care. On the other hand, I don't care. To me, my question would be, would this bother people if it was a generic American accent that sounded nothing like Marilyn Monroe?
What, the tone? If she got the American accent right, but not the tone right?
If it was American accent, but she didn't go, but they didn't
have
the
the
tone
New York
is more
inflections.
important than the pronunciation, but you have to deal with both. And with the amount of trouble she says she went through to get this accent right.
9 months.
9 months of dialect coaching, practicing, and ADR sessions where she went in and corrected herself. She called it a big torture, so exhausting, my brain was fried.
I will give her this.
And this is what she came up with?
I will give her this. That is to take that on, knowing that you're going to have to, I would never want to do that. To know that I sound nothing like a person. I can barely talk as myself, let alone as somebody else. So I can't imagine having a voice that sounds so distinctly different. I think back to Halle Berry, right, doing an accent in one of the X-Men movies, and it just goes away after the second one because they're like, she can't do this. This is horrible. We're getting rid of this.
I'm sure it's incredibly hard. I know that, but
who's the girl? I mean, I think this is part of the casting director's dilemma, right? You have the chance to have this really big actress, especially this was filmed a while ago, so they could see the trajectory of her career. They want her name, but she doesn't have the accent, and you have to invest. You have to hope that the dialect coaching pays off, which it doesn't. I have two comparisons. The first one is, if you guys have seen the show New Girl, I don't remember his name, but the actor who plays Nick, who's the goofy kind of slacker writer loft guy. There were a couple episodes where they were there was one that had a choreographed dance routine, and he was I could no matter how hard I tried, I could not learn this dance. I cannot dance. And so they just stuck him in the back and were it's okay because your character is kind of a mess anyways. If you can't do it, it's fine. And it could make it work. It feeds his character. The movie Bridget Jones's Diary, what is that actress's name?
I love that movie. What is her name?
I'm going to look it up right now, but she very famously is an American actress, Renée Zellweger, who intensely trained and adopted a British accent. So convinced. I mean, Hugh Laurie in House did this. He auditioned.
Half of network television is filled with British people that pull off generic American accents very, 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 very well.
Right. And so I sympathize with her that it is difficult, and I'm sure it's not easy. I don't think I could do it. I'm terrible at accents. But, somewhere along the line, the casting directors made a calculation that was it's more important to have her than to have the accent. Which maybe that'll kind of ruin the movie in a certain sense. It's not gonna be as good as it could have been.
This guy,
I feel it's even harder if English wasn't her first language.
Yeah. Yep. This guy from New Girl looks like a weird version of David Krumholtz from Numbers.
I've never seen that.
Okay, so there's an actress named Marsha Thomason who did a show called White Collar. She's British, from Manchester, and she plays
That's
an American.
where my family's from.
And she plays an American in the show, and they have an episode where she goes undercover as a person from Manchester. And what she does in the show, she actually purposely does her own real life accent kind of bad in places to make it seem like she was screwing up, but they never call attention to it. That's how much detail was put into it.
That's so cool.
I think it's easier to, if you're an English speaker, to switch between different accents within the English language. But for her, she had to go from her native language to a different accent in her second language.
When Hugh Laurie would do in-house, he couldn't say Sebastian. He would say Sebastian because
hang up. But his accent was so. They initially said that they didn't want to cast any British actors, so he did his audition tape with an American accent, and whatever producer, casting director was like, "He's the guy." Did not realize that he was British until he showed up on set.
I don't know if I buy that story as
I
much
love that
because
story.
he's such a he was already so well known at that time. I'm not sure if I buy that a casting director whose job it is to know.
But maybe they
actors,
just thought he was doing a really good British accent all the other times.
That could be. There's but that's the hard part of for Hollywood for these people. Like a lot of British actors have to do American accents, but they don't do regional specific. They just do kind of a generic
nasally
American accent. And they say that they are able to figure it out because so much of what the television they watch is American. So they just emulate what they see.
We have more exposure to it for sure. I can't remember who this was. There's a guy on like Riverdale maybe who's Australian, KJ Apa maybe. Yep. I could be totally wrong. But it's much easier to recreate an American accent, and so we don't think about these things. People are always surprised to find out certain actors are actually not from here. I just don't know if this... I can't say. Like, I don't know that I'll go see this movie. Maybe...
Well, I don't know if you have to go see it, but...
well, you can't go see it because it's
I don't know
Netflix.
if I will see this movie. I'll take out the bird.
Gabrielle Anwar was another one on Burn Notice who was... she wasn't even playing she played an Irish person who then faked an American accent for the show because they're like, God, I literally do buy that it's like 2009. They're like, the Americans won't watch it if they hear a crazy Irish accent. So then when she has to do characters where she goes, her accent comes back out, and she knew the character of Michael Weston, played by Jeffrey Donovan, he would have to do an Irish accent that actually sounded fairly good because he spent his entire career getting rid of his Boston accent because he has a really thick Boston accent that he doesn't use when he's performing. So he's actually molded his voice to be more malleable because he just didn't want to sound. The same with Matt Bomer from White Collar, has a very thick Texas accent.
Who's the guy who just did the Elvis movie, Austin Butler. And he kind of has a weird Elvis accent right now.
He's still using it.
He's like, I just got into the habit, and I don't know. I mean, he's on the press junket, so I feel like that's part of it. Like, why give it up? It makes it interesting.
Happens with Gillian Anderson. Because she's British and she spent a lot of time in Britain and America, so like her voice goes back and forth between the two. In the Tomb Raider movie, Angelina Jolie does a British accent and Daniel Craig does an American accent. They're both bad. Like even though he's British and she's American. Like they swap, and neither sound. Hers is better sounding as British than his is as American, but that's because Daniel Craig has such a recognizable voice.
Well, who played Anna Delvey? What's her name with the
Julia
curly
Garner.
hair? Yeah, and I heard her doing an interview on like Jimmy Fallon or something where she's describing trying to get into the accent because the woman
is a very unique one.
Well, and she's German, but she's Russian, but pretends to be German. Or
she was German born. And her maiden name was Russian, and then she had like this mixed in like New York, almost Valley Girl plus New York, like mixed in. And it was just like ultimately very annoying, and strange, but like addicting.
Well, and I remember listening to this thing and being like, I don't want to watch a whole movie of you talking like that. But if that's actually how she sounded, she did a great job.
I listened to interviews of the real Anna Delvey, and it's not like so far off. It's just more of like an exaggerated version of what she really sounds like.
And then there's poor Tom Hardy over here, who nobody can understand, which we literally covered the other day. That he's the actor that literally no one knows what he's talking about.
That just started from saying that like Gen Z uses subtitles more than everyone else, but I think that's just having a shorter attention span.
So is this something? Are we going to watch this? Do you think we should watch this?
What does your audience think? Do they want you to watch it?
Guys, let us know if you want us to watch
These
this.
are hard.
I was thinking about it. I just wish that if it were in theaters, I would be way more excited to watch it because I feel like just based on the fact that this is about a silver screen actress, you should have it on a big screen.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And you're supposed to like watch this on your laptop in your house. I just don't like it. I don't like it. But if you guys want us to maybe review it or talk about it for a few minutes, like we're open to the idea.
Are we still gonna go see Bullet Train this week?
Yeah.
I'm
On
excited
4th, right?
about. I'm excited about Bullet Train. That looks, the reviews are middling, which means if the critics hated it, I would probably love it. But if it's in the middle, that means it's probably inoffensive but fine.
Let's see.
So.
Also, I didn't like the aspect of the casting that was like it's groundbreaking to hire a Cuban actress
to play
as
a real
Marilyn
person.
Monroe. She even Ana de Armas said herself, I only had to audition for Marilyn once, and he said, it's you, but I had to audition for everyone else, the producers, the money people. I always have people I needed to convince, but I knew I could do it. Playing Marilyn was groundbreaking. A Cuban playing Marilyn Monroe.
That makes no sense.
I wanted it so badly. You see that?
Look, I love Ana de Armas' work so far of what I've seen from the little I've seen from her.
But like, what does this
She's
have
fine.
to do with
What-
you being Cuban?
What the hell makes that groundbreaking? Why does displacing somebody, like literally changing somebody, but why is race swapping a character groundbreaking? Why is gender swapping a character groundbreaking? What actually what
Imagine my
change
shock.
are you actually making? It would be more groundbreaking
Yeah.
if you just casted somebody that actually looked like her, actually sounded like her, and was just like a basic bitch white chick. Like it would be. That's groundbreaking in 2022. It is. There is literally nothing less groundbreaking than race and gender swapping anybody. In
Who
fact,
do you think could have done it better?
ethnicity swapping. It's literally the opposite. It is ground sealing. It is actually fixing the ground because it's that unimpressive.
Who could have done it better though?
I don't care. Maybe she does the best performance ever. I just care that they act like they're saving the world by doing this crap.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't like that she's feeding into that narrative.
Yep. So, also the other thing I wanted to point out here was the part about that the Marilyn Monroe estate defended this because the Marilyn Monroe estate is financially
Without addressing the criticism, by the way. They said any actor that steps into that role knows they have big shoes to fill. Based on the trailer alone, it looks like Anna was a great casting choice as she captures Marilyn's glamour, humanity, and vulnerability. We can't wait to see the film in its entirety.
My point here was like it was inoffensive to me. It didn't bother me. The executives in the bragging and the it's not even it's like lame bragging, right? It's like give me my social credit score give me my points for the social credit score.
Mm-hmm.
I need my likes on Twitter because nobody in the real world cares. Old person goes and sees this on Netflix, they're gonna be like, why doesn't she sound like Marilyn Monroe? That's what they're going to say. They're going to like, she looks like her, but she doesn't quite sound like her.
It's so clearly a Cuban accent. Like
Yeah.
I do think that does, like, for me, it would ruin some of the magic. I mean, I think of like the movies I've seen with Marilyn Monroe, and she delivers these great lines, and like her presentation is part of it. You know, I really empathize with trying to do an accent that you just cannot do.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
And then they're in the hole. They've already started. She's already filmed some scenes, and they're like, "Oh man, she really can't do this accent." Like, we'll just pretend that it's not happening. Like, it's not a great approach, but like, short of finding someone who was like a perfect voice actress and dubbing her whole lines, like, I don't really
I hope
know
there's
what they
enough
would've done.
ADR that's just noticeable and
I hate bad ADR.
stupid.
Also, for this, I would be a lot like if she had not said anything, and it was just kind of what it was. I can't blame her for taking the role. Do you make your money?
You, queen.
You do you. You make your money. That's fine with me. It's the bragging and the I'm representing this group and I am a speaker for this group and this.
Like,
this
is it
and that.
groundbreaking if a European actor plays an American character? No, because if it's like, again, if it's like white people, then who cares? They're interchangeable. But
Maybe I can play Che Guevara.
I think that
in
would
a
be
movie.
great.
like, if you're Cuban and you play an American, that's, oh my gosh, earth shattering.
I think
like,
they could hire me to pay.
glass ceilings breaking everywhere.
It's the ceiling's breaking from her voice being so bad. It's going.
She
Well,
again,
her
she
voice
did
is-
the
I'm
tone.
kidding.
She did the tone like quite well. It's just she needed to actually enunciate the words differently, and that didn't happen.
The breathy and the little girl, like it sounds like a very young girl. That part works very, very well. The rest of it, not so much. I am down with the idea of me playing Che Guevara in a movie, though. I want to do that.
You guys heard it here first. Start the
Yes.
campaign.
Let's go.
GoFundMe.
Kickstarter.
Can we make it happen, y'all? Let's get to some super chats, shall we?
Yep.
Blue Heart said, "Gather ye rosebuds while ye may."
Well, thank you.
What? Oh, I started up late.
Yeah, there's a couple more up there.
Oh,
Bad
bad app.
App.
Sorry, I'm not reading that for Hannah Claire's.
He said he'd like to see you another day.
What?
Brett, no, don't even humor him. Gold Mecro said, "Hannah Claire, hi."
Hello.
Hello.
Waffle Sensei said, "Please tell Dave I'm sorry I missed him on Monday. He is a lover. He is my North Star, and will not fail him next Monday. Wait for me, my queen."
I miss Dave.
Why
I feel like
doesn't
I've seen
anybody speak to me with such vigor?
Wow.
You guys
That's
hear that? Brett's
beautiful.
feeling neglected. If you could all send him some words of affirmation, he would really appreciate it.
They're always like, "Yeah, Brett's cool too." Like,
Yeah,
come on.
Brett.
I am
Guys,
very
guys.
very unimportant.
There
here.
is
That
no
what I've
pop culture
learned.
crisis without either one of these two, and Brett deserves to feel affection. Should we declare a National
on,
Brett
guys.
Day?
Yes.
The other part of this is like I try to get Brett to like do all kinds of fun things and like come hang out with all of us, and he's like, "No, I'm alone."
She one time asked me to go
You're a
hiking,
lone wolf.
and I go, "Nope."
With contempt.
I think he
in your
even
face,
laughed.
yeah.
He was like, "It's an immediate no." He didn't even do the polite like, "Oh, I'll have to check my calendar, maybe."
Yeah,
he was like, "No."
No. Well, because it's rude to tell people that you'll check your calendar when you
I
know
agree.
you're
Look,
lying.
I've
I
asked
agree.
Brett to get burgers with us. I've asked Brett to do all kinds of things, and he's always like, "No."
When did you ask me to go? I would have gone to get burgers. That's
You
right up
said
my-
yes, and then you didn't go. It's crazy.
We should do that.
Okay, we'll do that.
F off said, "Fiona
Glenann.
is
Glenann.
a sexy little fireball. Love burn notice."
Yes.
Is she the one that played the one with no belly button?
No.
I thought that was a man.
Maybe.
From Kyle XY.
But yeah, she.
I don't
that's,
think she has a belly button.
That's crazy too, because she's like wearing mostly like her.
She wears, she's like has her midriff out for a lot of the show, but she doesn't have a belly
I
button.
never noticed that. It just proves to you that
Or it's just very minuscule.
She is stick thin too. Like also that character's a perfect example where you can do a female character that is very much independent, strong-willed, and capable on their own without nerfing the male characters around them to make them seem better. Writers were much better at writing a long time ago, far better than they are today.
Bad app. I don't want to read that either. F off said, "Y'all gender swap Hannah Claire all the time. Brett is a hypocrite. Sorry, brother." We gender swap Hannah Claire?
Yeah, every other day of the week, you bring in versions of me that are male. It's very rude. I assume that's what they mean.
I don't know if
If Dane is just a
Thing
male
is,
Hannah Claire.
Dave is his own person, but everyone else is just either a Dave or a Hannah Claire. Let's be real. We're the OG guys. I'm just kidding.
Chris Carr used to come in the early days too.
Chris Carr is the backbone of the
we
newsroom.
should bring him back sometime.
Chris
Gotta-
Carr, can you hear us? It's time to come on the show.
Please.
We ran into him in New York randomly.
It seemed random, but
No, it
that
wasn't
was
random.
that
It was planned.
orchestrated, right?
Well, that's weird.
It was orchestrated.
That's even weirder.
But then
that
they wanted us to think it was
No.
random.
That's weird.
We'll talk about this after the show, but
Also, I don't know what he's saying I'm a hypocrite about, but if he's talking about stuff like casting, yes, I will fully admit that there's times where I can't tell you why something bothers me and why something else doesn't bother me, but I don't care. That's fine.
Like Reggae Jean Page.
Yeah,
instance.
doesn't
Yeah.
bother me.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me. I don't know.
Look, you can't have black women play Marilyn Monroe,
No.
for instance, historical figure.
but you can have Asian women play a redheaded superhero or whatever Poison
where-
Ivy is.
Or yes, or even what did you
Even
just
though
mention?
redheads are a genetic
James
minority.
Bond,
James Bond, but then
Marilyn Monroe. Which one?
Should I just say
would they ever do a they did the character in the
They did Anne Boleyn. Thank
Oh.
you.
so if they'll do
wow.
Anne Boleyn, if they'll race swap Anne Boleyn, would they race swap Marilyn Monroe?
I mean, it's in the cards. Anything's
It will
possible.
eventually, and then they will say finally, a
It's
black woman is
groundbreaking.
yes. They always act as if the next logical step is always to just change it further. Like, finally, this person is now being played by this.
Well, I don't watch the show, but
We've been waiting. Like,
isn't that what is happening? Isn't that like with Bridgerton? They have all kinds of like diverse characters on,
even though
and
it's
people
supposed to
are
be
like,
a period drama.
it doesn't make any sense
No,
at all
no.
whatsoever. They're like, no, it's okay. We're making progress.
Also, their costumes suck. They look like Halloween costumes.
Yes.
Okay.
Jonathan Harris.
Jonathan Harris said the year is 2069. Obama's biopic is played by an American Chinese. He has Obama's speech pattern, but it's with a Chinese accent.
There was Dane played me a clip from First Ladies. That was one of the most.
Viola Davis.
She was fine. Whoever the dude was that was playing Barack Obama has never watched a Barack Obama speech or heard
It's
Barack.
almost like so distinctive. It's hard to miss that. Like,
Yes.
it's hard to get that
Yeah.
wrong.
It was shocking
Anyone
to
can
me
do
how
it.
bad it
Do
was.
you know what I used to like on the internet?
What?
And I'll tell you. It's
What?
there used to be like a couple compilations of Barack Obama singing pop songs, but it's like his
like they edit
speeches
it.
like cut up.
No, Dane is like obsessed
Oh,
with
yeah,
those with Trump.
I showed
my
Dane
God.
all
Obsessed.
I've never seen the Trump ones, but I would argue the Obama
Blinded
Call Me Maybe, incredible. I highly recommend streaming that.
I think we literally watched the Trump one in here when Dane was
Blinded
here
by
at
the
one
Lights,
point.
Blinding Lights by the Donald Trump cover of the Weekend song is one of the most incredible things you'll ever hear in
it's
your
good.
entire life.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think one of the reasons I found that so funny was because Barack Obama has a significant speech pattern. He's
Yeah.
obviously like a trained politician. He's been speaking publicly for a long time. You know that you're listening to Barack Obama. It's not someone else, and that's to his benefit, really.
This next one's funny.
Caper2X said Che Guevara was a big time nasty dude, Brett. Everything you think you know is wrong. Too political to get into it.
Is that like saying that he thinks that I'm like really into
I like that they picked up on that we
He's
have
a
a politics
nasty
limit on
guy.
the show.
like he thought I actually liked Che Guevara and it's just like that's why I want to play
He's
him
a
in a
bad
movie. He's a
dude.
bad dude. Yeah, we know. We know.
Okay.
Brett, renounce your statement and tweet out an apology
I
right
better-
now.
I better
Right
quick-
freaking now.
I demand a tweeted apology.
I'm gonna buy one of those Che Guevara shirts and like put an X through it and wear it on the show.
Are you learning and growing, or are you forgetting
This is an
and shrinking?
anti-Che Guevara show.
It is.
Jonathan Harris said, Brett, the male starting gender was nerfed in Earth patch 2012.
Well, we're never starting as now all male characters will finally be played by the person they're supposed to be played by when they're played by a woman. It's like that line in the in that episode of Batwoman when she's like, the suit'll fit perfect. The suit will be perfect once it fits a woman.
Well, the person playing Obama then should be a woman.
Yes. Well, yeah. And Michelle would be played by a trans.
By a man. Yeah. Easy. That would be groundbreaking. Waffle Sensei said, Brett, denounce Ben Affleck as Batman, and I'll send you loving messages too. This is an ultimatum.
Wow.
This is so
Your-
emotionally abusive.
Doesn't Brett put on a nice show for you guys regularly? Doesn't he deserve your affection without having to have
put on a
demands?
show? It makes him sound like a clown.
He's just here for our entertainment.
I am.
Brett, are you okay?
I don't even really care about Ben Affleck as Batman, but I've literally been forced. I've been forced into defending him just because it
be
angers other
contrarian,
people.
yeah.
I was just recently.
I don't dislike it. I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm saying I just don't care about it. Go ahead.
I was just recently informed about Ben Affleck's enormous back tattoo. Care to comment on that?
I didn't know anything about that.
We should look it up.
What is it?
Ask Dane. He's suspiciously obsessed with Ben Affleck for
He
some
would
reason.
because he's jealous that he's married to Jennifer Lopez.
I don't
So
doubt
true. So true. Well, what was the tattoo?
It better be Ben Affleck, otherwise this story is the worst. But yes, it is. Please look it up, Brett. I want to say what it is, but I think you have to see it visually. It's a giant phoenix, but it sort of looks like a Pokemon, and it's in full color. And
Let's see.
I'm just gonna say it, horrifying. Not like it's scary, like
I hate that. Why? That's so much work for what?
this is your Batman. I just want everyone to hear it.
The dude built a bat cave in his first house. If that doesn't qualify him to play Batman while also being a good director and actor, I don't know what is.
No,
Moving on.
answer for this back tattoo.
I will
What
do
does
nothing.
it mean? What is it for?
It's just him hanging out, you know?
Has he explained this?
I
Is
mean,
it new?
What? So it's a phoenix, so he's rising from the ashes, and he was sort of an alcoholic, I think, and got divorced that one time.
Makes sense. I mean,
I don't know. It's ugly. I think this is
Horrible.
horrible.
Well, has he is this a new tattoo?
I can't tell.
Or he's always had
I
it?
think he's had it for a number of years. I don't
Interesting.
remember when it came on, but at one point Jennifer Lopez when they weren't together trashed his tattoo and was like, it's so ugly.
Now
and
she's
now they're
like,
married.
I
So if
was
you guys
just
are
mad.
wondering, people
she
there's
loves him
always hope.
only in spite of the tattoo.
I wonder if he's gonna get it lasered off now that they're together. She's like, I will not look at that every day of my life.
Hobbit said the masculinity trait was also nerfed big time.
That is 110% true. If you look at most of what television is now, the male characters are not allowed to be traditionally masculine. One of the biggest tropes that I hate the most, maybe out of all of it, is how anytime they're doing something that would be traditionally a masculine activity, the woman always beats them at it because, whoa, subverting expectations. F off. You're not groundbreaking.
But
that's the
you
thing.
can do, I can do better.
If
Exactly.
it's a subverting expectations thing, she should lose because we now expect the women to be better if you're watching a movie, right?
yeah, but they don't.
It's no
they
longer
haven't
interesting.
they haven't gotten that memo yet.
She should refuse to do it and be like, I love the patriarchy too much.
That would be awesome.
1,000 Foot Deep End said appreciation chat for Brett and his strong ankles. Where is this ankle stuff coming from? Am I unaware
They
of
notice.
some
Is this like a
My
skating
own-
inside
thing?
joke?
Is this your skating? Like,
I'm-
because you're a rollerblader?
I assume
You
it
probably
could be.
do have pretty strong ankles.
That
How
could
do we
be.
test
Is that
your ankle
why?
strength?
That could probably be it. I have no idea where it came from, but it's
What?
if women have feet pics, I have ankle pics. Then apparently,
Okay.
I have to
Aw.
get some capris.
Guys, keep it coming. Brett's like smiling now. You're making
He's
his
so
day.
happy.
I was
that
smiling
you
anyways.
Are complimenting
Uh-huh.
his ankles.
It's like
Colonel
finally someone noticed. I've been working on these for years.
Colonel said, breaking news, new Batgirl movie has been shelved by Warner Brothers. Holy $1 million down the drain, Batman. Will Brett be covering this on the next Pop Culture Crisis? Inquiring minds want to know.
I will have
a
to.
great
I will
comment.
have to look into it. Look, the Batgirl movie. David Zaslav seems to be taking no prisoners over at Warner Brothers. He doesn't want stuff that loses money to be coming out. And all of the Batwoman stuff or Batgirl stuff from the beginning. Originally, that was supposed to be a Joss Whedon movie. Shelved. It's gotten just the fact that they were going to release it HBO Max only and not in theaters proved that they didn't have any faith in it.
Mm-hmm.
They're also talking about how Sasha Calais is Supergirl because they have to have the first. I don't know where she's from, but she's playing Supergirl. But it's the first not white person to play Supergirl because that's what it is now. That she's going to be replacing she's going to be replacing Superman. It's a mess over there, but I will look into that for tomorrow and maybe we'll cover that as a topic.
Yeah. F off said, shout out to Brett. Here is some cash for rail wax. F the haters. Go skate.
I will.
Aw.
That's
They love you.
That's
the
what-
people love you.
Yay.
They love me. They really love me.
That's actually a Mandela effect. She didn't say that.
I don't even.
She said, you like me. She
Oh.
didn't even say, you really like me.
I'm not even quoting that. I'm quoting it from the movie The Mask with Jim
Oh.
Carrey, where he says
Is that referencing it?
That's probably referencing
That's
it
like
in
a
Mandela effect.
yeah, that's a Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Also, someone said Ben Affleck traded down from Jennifer Garner. I didn't even know. He
Oh,
was
I
with
totally,
Jennifer Garner.
I totally
Jennifer
110. They
Garner.
have kids together. 110% agree. Whoever said that, exactly.
It feels like he's going through a weird return to midlife crisis where he's they're trying over again. This is the funny thing is the getting married a second time trope. Were him and Jennifer Lopez
No,
ever
they
actually
were
married?
engaged, but they never got
okay.
married.
But the getting married a second time trope is very common in Hollywood. So I wonder if they're
Getting
always
married
just
to the same person.
yeah, where they get married, they break up, but then it's always the guy. The guy was always
comes crawling.
No. The idea is it's a redemption arc for the guy. The guy comes back and
He
he's
finally
better.
is good enough for the girl.
He's finally good enough for the girl. They
I
did
don't
To be
like
fair, he
that.
got Jennifer Garner, so
it can be done in a way that's actually fairly good. Like in the show Eureka, the character of Nathan Stark gets remarried to Sally Richardson Whitfield's character, and it's but he never becomes less of a dick to the other main character. He's always kind of still the same guy, but he treats her with a lot of respect, and he loves their son. So he kind of is redeemed, but doesn't lose his cool factor. But then they kill him off literally right away.
there's some studies that indicate people who grew up in similar areas or have regional or it's basically there was a study that found a lot of times high school sweethearts, like after they lose a partner or, get divorced, will ultimately reconnect and then have a long-term relationship, because the idea is that they understand a fundamental premise of how they view the world, because they had a shared upbringing or like commonalities in the upbringing.
And you feel like now you've maybe explored more of the world and you can come back knowing that maybe this was the right person for you.
I think Jennifer Garner was a better option, but
fair enough.
Wasn't he also with Anna de Armas?
Yes, he was, very shortly.
See, Ben Affleck can have whoever
Ben Affleck wants.
With his giant phoenix tattoo. Why?
And his bat cave that he had in his first house.
Boo. Object. Boo.
That has man cave energy.
Well, just imagine having that much money that you can build your own bat cave as your man cave. That's
what if he's
awesome.
a huge fan of Order of the Phoenix, the Harry Potter book, and he's like,
then I would
get
say
this
yes.
Phoenix on my back.
As somebody who loved the Harry Potter books growing up, then that is still grounds for dismissal from Batman. Getting a tattoo is too much. Yes.
Cuck-a-doodle-doo sent $1 with no message.
Thank you.
Thank you. Caper2X said, we don't talk about Bruno or Brett's ankles. We're talking about Brett's ankles right now.
Ooh, this is getting into a hot debate.
Bobcat said Brett's ankles are nothing compared to Elijah's.
I don't know who that
Who's
is.
that?
I think I saw down there in the later ones that they're referring to Elijah Schaefer.
Oh. Are Elijah Schaefer's ankles of interest?
Do you have beef with Elijah Schaefer?
I've never seen
when
his
he
ankles.
was here last time. I don't think I even spoke to him.
Nice.
I think I was
Crushed
I think I
it.
was up here the whole time.
Yeah.
So
you didn't even
rude.
know he was here.
You didn't even compare ankles. Next time.
Go up,
next time.
like everybody violently pulls their pants up and puts them next to each other.
F off said, Hannah Claire does not like tattoos. It's confirmed. I'm out, boys.
No,
I don't mind tattoos.
He's out of the running.
I don't mind tattoos. I think this one is ugly.
Okay.
Can we all agree?
The Phoenix one is it's
Look,
horrible.
I never said I didn't like tattoos, but
It's not as bad as it could be, but it's not good.
There are worse, but I don't think I just have to accept all tattoos on the face of the earth.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Let's be a little bit discerning about the art that we put on our body.
Maybe if it were black and white, it wouldn't be so offensive.
It would be horrible.
It would still be pretty
There's
bad.
no version of his life where he why does this man have this giant phoenix tattoo?
There's a couple of tattoo artists that I'm friends with who say that they love doing both, but this certain people look better with black and white tattoos and certain people look better with color tattoos, and you can never really discern why that is, but whether it's the work itself or whatever reason. So
It's a lot. Couldn't he have gotten a t-shirt or like a print? Why does he have to have this on his back? He can't even see it.
True. Bad app. I'm not reading that. Hobbit said, Brett, only ankles when
you spell my name correctly.
Yeah.
In the chat.
That's fair. Terrence Rice said the ankles thing came from Elijah Schaefer's You Are Here podcast. His pants never went all the way down and could be seen on cam.
See, the problem is I'm short, so
That's funny.
if anything, pants are usually too long.
Isn't that like a style though, like ankle cut pants? They do this
prefer
with women's
them-
stuff, and I hate it because I'm so tall that like
There's
it
a special
doesn't make
name
sense.
for it for guys, right?
Cropped?
Those type of pants that like show your ankles.
Cigarette.
They're kind of in style right now. And then Bad App said, as a straight white male, I love Brett's ankles.
Perfect.
Thank you for that.
Brett, are you feeling better?
We're gonna move on, and we're gonna do the rest if more come through in the next topic. Because I want to talk.
He's grinning, ladies and gentlemen.
A little
He's
bit
happy.
I want to talk about Lucasfilm and the failure of Obi-Wan Kenobi's final episode, which it really was. It says Lucasfilm and Star Wars racism gambit fails as Obi-Wan Kenobi finale viewership worse than the Mandalorian season 2, Loki, and WandaVision. This is a little bit like leading in the headline. Like, it's not like it's the worst rating they ever had. And including the part about racism is very clearly a ploy to get people to read.
The viewership thing confused me because I thought they meant just number of people who, streamed it like at all, not by minutes, not by watch time.
They go by watch time.
I didn't know that a lot of like streaming services paid attention to watch time, but I guess if you're going based off of ad revenue as if it's the same as a YouTube video, you have to do that.
Well, also they want to see if it's a show and you only watch so many minutes of a certain episode, how the hell are you gonna tune into the next episode?
Going forward?
So Samba TV always does by watch time. I just read the other day that $200 million they spent on The Gray Man and it only stayed at number 1 for 8 days.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
Netflix is not the place to be putting
and they announced
things that should be theatrical releases.
a Gray Man extended universe because everything's got to be a freaking extended universe.
Has to have
So
a
you
prequel,
agree. You agree that it's stupid.
and a sequel and a spin-off, at least.
You guys are welcome. Welcome to my church of this is stupid. I am anti-multiverse, sequel-dominant stuff.
If they wanted to do one, like a villain story for Regé-Jean Page's character, who I laughed at and thought he was hilariously mean to everyone and loved it. Like, I'm okay with that, but he has to be the bad guy the whole time. I don't want some type of like origin story on why he's a closed off, emotionally distant douche. I want a movie about like him being a legit bad guy, running black ops against the CIA's wishes, doing all sorts of awful stuff. Do I think they'll do that? No. I think what they'll do is they'll take Ryan Gosling's character and do a spin-off of the Six character, right? But we're getting off subject here. Let's get back to the failure that was the end of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Am I right in concluding that they retained the least watch time from their pilot to their finale?
That's what I...
Compared to those.
Yeah, compared to the other shows. It says, on top of the lack of evidence to support Ingram's claims, they're talking about the claims that people were mean and racist to her, Ewan McGregor took it upon himself to address the situation in an obvious marketing video shared on the official Star Wars Twitter account.
We should play this video.
It's so... It's like I have secondhand cringe for him.
Please play
like,
it.
Okay, let's watch it.
Are you ready?
We love cringe.
I'm literally picturing like a director outside of the car window going...
He's such a well-meaning guy, too, but it's unfortunate they
he's taking some
him
direction from all those extreme close-ups that they did of him on the show.
Yeah.
It's the only way he knows how to hold his face.
This weekend, Star Wars fans made Obi-Wan Kenobi the most watched Disney Plus original series premiere of all
He looks
time.
like Kenneth Branagh.
And for that, I would say a big thank you. And it just goes to show what this family can do when we all pull together. However, it seems that some of the fan base, from this influential fan base, have decided to attack Moses Ingram online and send her the most horrendous racist DMs. And I heard some of them this morning and it just broke my heart. Moses is a brilliant actor. She's a brilliant woman. And she's absolutely amazing in this series.
She may actually be a brilliant woman. I don't know her. As an actress, I can only speak to her work in this role and say that she was miscast and isn't very good. The comments that were left, I don't know if these people have ever actually been on the internet, like where mean things happen to people or said about people, but it was tepid.
Oh, they are, but this, it's from the beginning seemed astroturfed, and that's almost more messed up if they faked the whole thing and then crafted those insulting phrases themselves because they're like messed up in the head.
They love it, and to me, there's nothing that they love more than using internet trolls, which will soon, remember, it won't be trolls soon, it'll be just bots. Everybody will be bots on the internet,
because the term was meant to
dehumanize.
paint these people as like subhuman anyway,
and in that case, free to use as marketing. So they swap the race or the gender of a character,
it's like
knowing people
if all
will
your
dislike
haters are bots, so are all of your fans.
Yep. But even if
not
these
the
are real,
fans.
even if these are real people, you race or gender swap a character, you know it's going to annoy people. And then when it annoys people, you use it as marketing and as a way of...
Moses Ingram wasn't race swapped, was she?
No.
She's a new character.
But the idea here is, in that case, yes. But for this, the idea is that you take a character, and everyone these days, because of the way the internet is, because people know how Hollywood casting works, they feel that this lady, who clearly doesn't seem to have what it takes for this role... Right. So they feel like she got in unfairly. We suggested DeWanda Wise from Jurassic World.
That would have been a great choice.
Would have been a great bit of casting here.
Well, because they cast things cynically, especially when it comes to race swapping characters. They cast cynically and then turn it around on the fan base when they respond to it cynically, rather than just eating it up and believing that, not that this is an affirmative action hire, but that they were looking for the best person for the role, and it just so happened to be Moses Ingram, even though her acting was terrible.
And that's always the worst. Is there? I was like, well, what if this was the best person for the role?
But it wasn't. That's the thing.
In this case, the evidence is to the contrary. That she clearly wasn't. I know you didn't watch the show.
What I would say is like no one is saying because of her race she's not doing well in this role. Like it sounds like she just didn't do a good job, which is a huge. Job. I mean, like I empathize with that. Like that must be a huge risk for actors everywhere. But what I'm not really sure. So the DMs are specifically attacking her race, or they're just being like not so good on that show, which like that would be upsetting to get for sure. But also surely as an actress, you have prepared yourself to get negative feedback.
The producers, seeing that their show was underperforming, wanted to create controversy about it. It's that simple. And then
thank you guys.
Kind of made Moses Ingram, who possibly none the wiser, believed that she was getting racial hatred on the internet.
I guess for me, I do take great comfort in knowing that if people hate me, they hate me because they think I'm an idiot, like not because of like I can understand where the anger comes from for somebody. If she actually believes that like she's getting all this hatred for that reason, and the evidence to me was there was some evidence that people said mean things. People are going to say mean things on the internet. Most of the people, like if somebody's going to come on to our videos and comment about me being bad at my job, it's going to be about the work.
If what they were saying was valid criticism of her acting, of which there is plenty
to criticize,
then respond to the criticism or ignore it and do your best.
Yep.
But don't frame it as just baseless hatred.
This is so they're talking here. It says for the weeks ending in July 3rd, Obi-Wan Kenobi did not even chart. So it ended the week before, and then by the next week it was out of the charts entirely.
So it had a really big hit. People started watching it a lot, and then it just dropped off.
It shows that they do so much like pre-release hype, trailers, teasers, marketing for these shows, and then it doesn't measure up to
it never does.
What they said it was going to be.
And like what
I
you
think
said,
this is what is going to happen with Andor and all of these upcoming Disney Star Wars projects, and I mean, pretty much everything on Disney Plus. They are going to hype it up to high heaven, and then when no one likes it, they're going to blame the fan base for not, I don't know, like not having sophisticated enough taste.
That's what they're
It's like literally calling us Philistines for not liking their like objectively low quality productions.
Obi-Wan Kenobi did indeed have the most watch time via minutes for a Disney Plus original series, as Nielsen reported that the show's first 3 episodes raked in 958 minutes viewed. However, Nielsen recently released their data for the weeks ending July 3rd and June 26th. The 6th and final episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi was released on June 22nd for the week of June 26th. So that's that first week that it was out. Nielsen reported that Obi-Wan Kenobi only brought in about 860 million minutes viewed. This was good enough for third of the top 10 Nielsen charts, behind The Umbrella Academy and Stranger Things. Beating out Stranger Things wouldn't have happened. Stranger Things is a phenomenon right now. Mm-hmm. I would have expected it to beat out The Umbrella Academy, to be completely honest. And reported that Obi-Wan Kenobi only brought in 860 million minutes viewed. This was good enough. Yeah, okay. So it says for the weeks ending in July 3rd. So now this is the following week. Obi-Wan Kenobi did not even chart on Nielsen's top 10 list for the streaming service. Netflix's Ozark placed 10th with only 330 million minutes viewed. So it was less than that by its second week out. And I think about the amount of promotion that's spent into all these products, which we're now starting to see for Andor as it cycles back through. And I'm just like, it couldn't beat The Mandalorian Season 2. And The Mandalorian Season 2 had its own drama going on. Because if I remember correctly, a lot of the Gina Carano stuff was happening around this time. Like, I don't know if that stuff all happened right around the release of Season 2, but fairly soon after, right? Like, so...
Well, what Gina Carano stuff?
Her getting fired from the show.
The original, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because of saying stuff that Pedro Pascal said.
Yeah, I understand why that would kind of boost the viewership for a while.
So it
and then they wanted to repeat that.
Yeah, so it beat out Book of Boba Fett, but just barely, but wasn't able to beat out shows like WandaVision and Loki and Mandalorian Season 2. So it feels like it should beat out The Mandalorian because it was a more recognizable character to normal people know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. The average person may not know anything about The Mandalorian other than Baby Yoda.
Is more marketable than
more so than the little actress that
than
played
Baby
Leia.
Leia.
Yeah, that is true. No offense to the young actress.
This is why ultimately, like, I end up looking at tweets and just like online conversations about these shows and feeling like I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Because
it all feels
there
so
are
fake.
like these viral tweets with like triple digit 100,000 something
all bought and paid
retweets
for.
talking about how much hype there is for this show that no one I know in real life is talking about. There's no word of mouth value to it. I have word of mouth conversations about like Stranger Things.
That's what I say.
But
You can tell what's
never
organic.
something on Disney Plus. I've never heard anyone like in real life recommend one of those shows or then like I'm looking at social media posts that don't reflect real world like public opinion of what they're putting out there.
And I would have even said, like, maybe there's an age discrepancy there, but you work at a place with most of the people who would be right in this target
Who would have that
demographic.
nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
But then, like, the Stan accounts on Twitter
Yeah.
who have these viral tweets that are probably bought and paid for
Taze
are
Rep 89.
usually teenagers or, like, people in their early 20s
Yeah.
who are, like, in high school or college who have time to dedicate to like posting screen caps of Obi-Wan Kenobi and being like, this part was so emotional
And
like,
vulnerable.
The Andor the reaction to the Andor trailer was insane to me. How like they get excited every time, but nothing new is brought to the table.
What I have not understood. I've never been really invested in the Star Wars world. I don't really watch it, but like it just seems so overdone at this point. Like nothing is happening. Why are you still doing this?
Here's I put the tweets on screen. I'm not going to screen them. These are the stuff that were said about Moses Ingram. Your days are numbered. That doesn't sound.
That
the other
sounds fake.
You are not the first. Yeah, I'm not saying that. N-word. Not saying that. You're a diversity hire, and you
Like,
won't
don't
be loved
post
or
that.
remembered.
Just like common sense. Don't post hate comments that you're getting if you don't want to get more. You're bringing the attention to it.
Well, and all these people want is a response, right?
Yes.
So you have like given them that.
Yes.
When people say negative stuff to me on Instagram, like about my skating, and it doesn't happen super often, but it does happen, right? I don't ever respond. Like, if I barely have the time of day because I'm so busy with work to respond to people who say nice things.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to engage most of the time with the people who say nice things because I'm too busy, why the hell would I give a person saying negative things the time of day?
And
It
like,
makes no
if
sense.
it genuinely hurt her feelings, she's just like projecting out there how she feels negative about her performance on the show and is taking things personally because of that.
The first one was the only one that I saw that used like a racial slur. The rest of them were just like, you're a diversity hire. You're not going to be remembered a year from now, which is mean, but it's just their interpretation of not nice interpretation of how they feel they'll be remembered in Star Wars.
I won't say her race wasn't considered in the casting decision.
Yep.
It was.
It was. All right, and before I do still want to talk about the Fiona Shaw article. This because we're going to talk about Andor. We will review Andor, I think, because Andrew will sit through Andor, right?
No.
Will he sit there?
I can't do this all over again.
So Fiona Shaw, who will be in Andor, it made it abundantly clear in the upcoming Star Wars series will be a political commentary on Donald Trump rather than a Star Wars adventure.
It's a take on the Trumpian world.
If you exist in a world where you say Trumpian non-ironically,
It's like too much analysis to something that is still in the current day.
Yes. So she says, Shaw, who plays she says she talked to Empire about the upcoming series, telling them Tony Gilroy has written a great scurrilous take on the Trumpian world. What does scurrilous mean?
I can look it up. I think I use the context that comes to mind is like kind of brutal is the word that I'm thinking of, but I could be wrong.
It's a scurrilous take on the Trumpian world. Our world is exploding in different places right now. People's rights are disappearing, and Andor reflects that. The Empire is taking over, and it feels the same thing that is happening in reality too. She explained.
Well, just
She
like
works
they
for
compared the Empire to like Nazi Germany.
She works for a $1 billion company that has enormous political influence. You are not the rebellion. You are the Empire. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Somebody clip Brett saying, "You are the Empire."
and then sorry after.
Yeah. Also, scurrilous means making or spreading scandalous claims about someone with the intention of damaging their reputation.
So they were damaging Donald Trump. That's
What?
Okay.
So is that the word she meant
No,
to use?
This is just like the recasting of Robin Hood as a
with a Y.
black
Robin
female Gen Z rapper
in a rap
who
group.
fights the injustices of New Nottingham. Like, it's old people wanting to feel like they're in touch with the young people,
Hello, fellow
and
kids.
feel like freedom fighting underdogs. And their
Social
art,
media
they want to
freedom
feel like
fighting.
their art is subversive and cool, and it's none of those things.
It
It's
is-
everything we expect it to be.
In fact, if there was an opposite to everything you just described, it would be what theirs is. To be frank,
It's sort
most
of
the time.
like I don't want to get too political, but like it's sort of like when a lot of conservatives in like Trump's first election were trying to call the conservatism the new punk rock when it just objectively was dudes in suits. And
Also, like, stop.
like
If you have to
Fox
say-
News.
If you have to say you're punk rock, you are not.
You're
punk
not,
rock.
yeah.
Punk rock doesn't have to declare itself punk rock. Like, that's just the way
like
this
just
works.
actually do something that speaks for itself for once.
I guess that wouldn't even be possible in current year because everyone's on social media. Like back in the day, you were just punk rock because you didn't
Because
have
the
a
people you
platform.
knew.
Yeah. So it's stupid, but I thought this was a hilarious take. Like they're like literally they took all the wrong lessons. Everyone's like, no politics in Star Wars.
Oh, by the way,
Escapist-
Obi-Wan Kenobi is bisexual.
Yes.
Good. I'm so glad they finally outed him. I have been worried about why do we need to make him bisexual? Like, this
They,
doesn't
like,
make any sense.
Forced him
I'm, like-
out of the closet.
Also, because they've got nothing. Well, like they're like Harry Potter has the one with Dumbledore, so we've got to do something. Like, I think. I understand that Star Wars was a huge production, and I understand that I am just not into it, and that it has cultural significance anyways. But like, why are we cannibalizing this whole world? Like, why are we destroying it to try and keep it with a modern era? Like, let's stop making this happen.
There is no realm in which it's not propaganda now. If you, to be honest, like if you were doing this with new characters and everyone was gay, bisexual, pansexual, fine. They're new characters. I know.
No, because it's still contrived.
But I'm saying it's still propaganda, but it's when they do it to previously established characters that it becomes blatantly more obvious to even
Well,
normies.
yeah, that's just another way of retroactive editing.
to
Same thing.
normies. And to be fair, this is even worse. This is more like queer baiting. What they're doing here, like which
Thor,
they
Love, and
hate,
Thundering.
which people LGBTQIA plus people hate. They don't want to be like the ones that are not activists say like this is annoying. Don't do this, but they do it anyways because they have no better way. They don't know. They either just want to destroy stuff.
The Disney Star Wars NPC fan base loves it. Anything they do, they love it. They'll
Because they're
cry about
sticking it to the man babies.
Like, they cry tears of joy no matter what crap, like pink sludge. Like, you know those videos that people watched of how hot dogs are made in like the 2000s and everyone like freaked out and they were like, that's disgusting. Do you know what that's made of every time that someone ate a hot dog? It's sort of like this is the media version of that. Yeah. It's the whatever pink sludge that Disney will churn out. They will just eat it unquestioningly.
Consume.
Consume.
Don't ask questions. Just consume.
You'll own nothing and be
crazy.
happy. You will subscribe to Disney Plus.
I
and be happy.
I have no. I can't afford to buy a home, and food is 8,000% higher than it used to be, and my job has no upward mobility. But at least I've got my Obi-Wan Kenobi series. That's what they think.
I'm
All right, Super Chats.
financing my Disney Plus subscription for 50 years. F off said, haha, most of my tattoos are black and white. Confirmed, boys.
Perfect.
Jonathan Harris said, Brett's ankles should be illegal. Save some for the rest of us.
I need to get like an anklet to wear.
Yes. Oh my gosh, a pop
anklet.
culture crisis anklet.
How about an ankle monitor so you can't leave?
When you guys have merch, it'll be his
You might as
his
well.
That's
ankle
even cooler.
modeling it.
Yeah.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, "This is for Mary's bank account. Hannah, I got you next time, and Brett, you after that."
Thank you for that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thanks.
It's really looking out.
Caper2X said, "Talk about Prime's Paper Girls, guys. Time travel."
Did I finally saw? By the way, speaking of Amazon Prime, I haven't seen that. I finally got the update where like the app is different on my like the Amazon Prime app has finally been updated and it's a little bit more user friendly. But the fast forward and rewind button is still the.
How is that the last thing you think to fix?
It's the worst. There is nothing worse than the Amazon Prime.
It's so bad.
Like,
it will rewind like 20 minutes
Yes,
if you press the button one time.
Man, you guys are really deep in the weeds of this pop culture job. You're like, you know what streaming platform has the worst rewind button?
It's so
Amazon Prime.
I knew this
bad.
before I had
Yeah.
this job.
Yeah, like the day like I mentioned it on air and she's like, "Oh my god, it is so bad," and I'm like, "Oh my god, did we just become best friends?" Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Mary said no.
Cleggy or Cledgy said Obi-Wan Kenobi show was great, but it could have been cut down to a 2-hour movie, honestly. It wasn't great, dude.
I
wasn't
didn't.
great.
It wasn't for me. But to be fair, I was never a Star Wars fan, like a huge Star Wars fan to begin with. So I sat through it. I base a lot of my opinions on the stuff we watch. Like for most things, I have to love it to just finish it. So if I'm being if we're reviewing it, I base my opinion on how many times I have to pause and go do something else before I come back to finish it. Like The Gray Man, I paused twice to get through a 2.5 hour movies. Some of those episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi took 2 days
You
to
paused
watch.
like 15 times.
Yeah, and I was like, I think I have
I
laundry
think that's
to do.
all-
Yeah, you
Also,
do all the
I
things that
went-
you've been putting off. You're
I-
like, I gotta call like the insurance company, and I got some stuff. Like, I really can't right
Right,
now.
that's
heard-
also just your attention span.
But get it?
It-
Yeah.
it's-
Also, I was like, I called my dad. I'm like, I haven't talked to my dad in a while. Literally anything but watch the show. That's just me. But yes,
Yeah.
I do have a particularly short attention span. And apparently, I said I used to make the joke that I have the attention span of a gnat. And Tim said, gnats have really long attention spans, right?
How long?
Because Tim would know that.
He would know that. Apparently,
long?
I have no idea. He said apparently they're singularly focused. So they have great attention spans. So now I have to
they're
come up with a new...
singularly focused, but how often do they change the singular focus?
And they die, right? Like they might have a really intense attention span for the 12 hours they're alive, but like that's not going to take you very far.
Yeah.
So I felt very I was like, well, now I have to come up with a new thing when I talk about my attention.
goldfish?
Yes, fine. Then
There
I
you
have the
go.
attention span of a goldfish.
Bobcat said everyone in acting gets miscast at some point.
This is true.
Yeah. Moses Ingram was just like an especially egregious example because I think she is good at acting.
Or
She's
you end
in
up with
Queen's Gambit, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
she was good in that.
She's good. I
but
mean, that's the thing. She's not like
this one was
a
mistake.
bad actress who we are propping up. I'm sure she's
No.
talented, but this wasn't the role.
Yeah.
You are definitely not reading the next
No, I'm not
Bad
reading
App
that from
one.
Bad App. Okay.
Oh my
No.
goodness.
I almost at this point, like you could say it's from Bad App, and I'm like,
Not
okay,
for
I'm not
me.
reading it. Like, I read probably less than 10% of.
He just
his
wants to
chats.
feel like you've noticed him.
Okay, well,
Clearly a middle
noticed.
child, you know
Consider
what I mean?
yourself noticed. Nathan Koss said it's called feeding the trolls, and you don't do it. Is that what
That's-
Moses Ingram was
That's
doing?
that they need to stop doing. They need to stop feeding the trolls.
Yeah, especially if it actually hurts you. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a public figure, like you don't project that it hurts you, then people are just going to do it longer and more like ruthlessly.
You know who
to
she
you.
should take PR lessons from?
Who?
Kiki Palmer. Kiki Palmer would have been like, I am the best actress of all time.
No, imagine
This is Kiki Palmer. Like, Moses needs someone
imagine
who's like
Kiki
hyping
Palmer
her.
as Reva though.
Oh god.
Would that be
I'm
even
not
worse?
I'm not saying we should recast her, but I'm saying she should open a PR company where she just coaches people, being like, "Who cares what the trolls
They
say?
don't.
You are the youngest character in this." Like whatever her thing is, because I feel like she is very
You're
much
the first
like,
Black Reva, except you're also the first Reva.
irrelevant.
Hobbit said Kenobi season 2, Revenge of the Monkeypox.
I'll look for that tie-in
Guys,
novel.
I hope we're
monkeypox
allowed
is
to say
wild.
monkeypox on YouTube.
Monkey pots with a
Pots.
T.
F off said Jedi were the ones going around like bandits forcing their way of life, even on the outer rim where it killed many planets' economy. The Trade Federation were the good guys.
Hot take.
Jonathan Harris said, I find it very interesting that most things coming from Hollywood is gender or race swapped. It's as if they have no creativity and just want to ruin things that were popular.
Ruin. I don't think at the corporate level they care about ruining things that are popular. I think they're happy to do it if it allows them the ability to push what they want to push, right? So, like recently, they're doing like John Constantine in the Sandman series, but they can't do John Constantine because that wouldn't be cool anymore. So they're doing Joanna Constantine, who has been in like 3 issues in the past, from what I recall or from what I understand. And so they're doing that, and they know people are going to be like, "Why wouldn't you use John Constantine? He's very popular. That character's very popular. He's bisexual. He fits a bunch of the stuff you guys love to talk about. Why not do that, right?" But they can't.
They're like, not enough.
And the race and gender swaps, I used to think that it was just like that it was different back in the day, and that they just did the best person for the job. But I think it was always about like what you were saying.
Yeah,
like,
I think there are genuine ideologues in Hollywood who will sacrifice profits and marketability for their ideological ends.
And I think that a lot of the producers and stuff, they don't really care, because the without it, like back in the day, it was based on your box office, right, or your Nielsen ratings. Now a lot of those numbers, like we were talking earlier, Samba TV, Disney Plus, they have control over what their numbers are. You don't, like, you're basically just taking their word for it. Like, it's not public information, right? So they can push whatever message they want. And not really worry about it. But it is, I used to think that it was about creativity. I think there's plenty of creativity. They just don't want to use the creative stuff. And also remember that they could be creating like we were talking about yesterday, the Robin Hood character. You could tell that exact same story, but change the names and change the weapon of, like, don't make it a bow and arrow, whatever you do. Change the character's name, have them take down the big bad people, and then it's just a new story.
Have an original story. If you want her in that story to be specifically inspired by Robin Hood, then let that be part of the story.
That's what I said. Yeah, her. Like, all they had to do was
but
have
how will
it
you know?
Exist.
Will you understand? I don't think you will.
Yeah, I guess we're just so stupid that we wouldn't understand.
Exactly.
That's what I think about all of these, like, remakes or spinoffs. Like, all of these things are bad, partially because, like, I think that we should hold ourselves to a higher standard. I know I've said this on the show before. We need a higher standard for what we, as consumers, are okay with being, for lack of a better term, served. But at the same time, I also think that they genuinely think you are too stupid to catch on. You should be insulted. Like, they think that if they can just give you, like, the most, I know I compare it to Candy all the time, like, the most light and terrible content, you will be like, oh my gosh, good, because this didn't challenge me that much and it's easy to accessible. Like, this is the worst. This is like
that's how I felt with The Gray Man.
Yep.
No offense, Brett. No offense.
I didn't say I loved it. I said it was fun.
No
if
offense,
you think it's a 7, what did you say, 7.5?
Did
I think you did.
I said a 7 or
I don't know.
I thought I said
that's pretty
I thought
high.
I said a 6.5.
I think we should start saying no offense intended to your ankles.
Perfect.
No offense to Brett's ankles.
One more super chat, and then we're going to Pod.
I don't know if I want to read this one, though.
Yeah, we'll
I don't want to say that. I'm sorry, John in the future. It's just a little too spicy.
A little spicy. All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna do Podluck and Mary. This Chris Brown defends intimate photos with fans because to some people the Me
He's
Too movement,
uncancelable. This man cannot be stopped.
But it's kind of crazy. Like,
right?
He can do anything, lay low for a second, and be back.
He does not care whatsoever. And the craziest thing too is that his fans don't care.
They don't care. Like they're just like, you know.
And that's why it always bothers me that, you know, even though some people in Hollywood and in entertainment deserve it because they bend the knee so easily to the mob, like Lizzo gets in trouble for spaz in her song, and then Chris Brown literally beats someone half to death, and it's like, oh, people change and grow and learn and, like, whatever.
They shrink and forget all the time.
They shrink and forget. And it's just like, we're supposed to act like that never happened. It's like the biggest gaslighting campaign.
I mean, is that what it's supposed to, is it supposed to be that we're supposed to pretend it never happened, or are we
That's
supposed
what they're
to just
doing.
accept that maybe the dude has he had any domestic violence claims on him since that incident?
I think almost certainly. I know he's had like other.
He doesn't seem to be able to keep a stable
at
relationship, from what I understand.
No, I wouldn't guess he's like a very stable person.
So these photos went viral, as you can see them on screen.
He's very handsy with his fans.
And I'm just like, it's like Me Too never happened. Like in his world, he lives in an alternate timeline where Me Too was just not a thing.
I commend him for just being like, it doesn't apply to me. No, you guys don't understand. Not me.
Harvey Weinstein took this photo in some alternate reality that just never happened.
The way that the women like seem to feel so comfortable doing like taking these pictures with him is the most baffling part.
I mean, I think part of it is like there are a lot of women who like think he is the greatest person ever and like have weird attachment to him. I don't want to reference it too much on the show because it is news, but the woman who was arrested or like shot, I don't know what I can say on YouTube, but there was the incident at the Dallas Love Field airport. The woman who was involved in that had a criminal history, and one of the things that came up is that in another time that she had been arrested for like arson, she'd been like, yes, and my husband is Chris Brown. Like I think he does have a weird like female cult following.
He does.
I cannot understand it personally.
Him and Ezra Miller and Jared Leto can start
think
their own cult.
People have just decided that they love his music too much to cancel him officially. Because by streaming Chris Brown's music, you are actively supporting him. I'm not going to act like I don't stream his music sometimes.
Well, and doesn't he like in his off years after he's had a scandal and he's in the background, didn't he like write and produce other things? Like he's an artist, but then he's really intricately involved.
Portfolio.
Yeah. And so in some ways
and he's a dancer.
Right. And that keeps him like from falling through the cancel culture floor.
He will be like
he can always sort of pivot, make money, wait, and then people are like, oh, but he does so much cool stuff, let's bring him back. And then whatever happens. Not that this is like a crazy scandal in my opinion. These photos are weird, but they're not like violent. You know what I mean?
It just demonstrates how cavalierly people treat celebrities who have done like far more heinous things than others, but like the ones who have made some kind of like verbal politically incorrect misstep are treated like subhuman.
Isn't that weird how your words in society are now considered worse than actual violence? So he makes a statement. He says, PSA, when artists, everyone, do concerts, they all have something called a VIP package. I haven't done meet and greets in over 7 years.
Why? Why 7 years, Chris?
That's when the TRO ran out. I have the coolest fans on the planet. I appreciate the F out of them. These are the memories that will last forever.
will last with them forever.
Not me, them.
It'll last with them. I do this every night.
I'm just picturing like that's your great memory is you like posing doggy style with Chris Brown, and that's the memory you want to remember forever.
Unlike most of these lame ass artists that won't even make eye contact with the people who made it possible to even have a career, I only exist because these fans saw something in me I never thought was possible. So I'm gonna go all out for my fans.
If these were just like over the shoulder photos, that's fine. Like, in fact,
I think maybe an aspect to why these women think it's like the kind of culture or like environment where these pictures are appropriate is just his song lyrics. Yeah, like he has a lot of very graphic sexual song lyrics.
Also, I am all in for like if he wants to do this, fine. If the women want to do this, fine. But take responsibility for your own actions when the eventual "he groped me" thing comes out. And to the women,
and don't act like he's this harmless like chihuahua. Yeah. Like I hate that.
And to the women, take responsibility for your own actions and don't like make this into something it wasn't years later. I don't know if that's what would happen here, but do you guys know
they pay a few $1,000
He's
For
like,
these
the least,
VIP
he's like, the least I can
packages?
do is dry hump you for a couple of
Dude.
$1,000.
He is a literal prostitute.
Do you guys know? This is who is it? Somebody else was charging $1,000 for photos of themselves recently too. This is at conventions. Like a lot of wrestlers and genre actors make a lot of money at conventions by signing autographs and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, that's different. But
different.
like, if it's understood that if you pay a few $1,000s to Chris Brown, he will like physically. Like, I don't like do all of these things with you, like grab your ass.
Yep.
He is a prostitute. Like, that's so weird.
Do you guys know about Keanu Reeves' rule with women in photos?
He floating arms
hover
them.
hands?
He doesn't go to lunch with them without his wife.
He floating arms
That's a
them.
Mike Pence
Look at all these
Yes.
photos. Arms just off her back.
Arms where you can see him.
Can
you know
see
what I mean?
it, but he's not touching them in the back. He's got a very straight.
I don't like that.
I love it. He's
Dude, I feel like that's a good call on his part. Like, it's
What,
always
to avoid
clear-
getting accused of something?
Yes, I
But
think
if
that's
your
smart.
hand
Or maybe
is
it's just-
visible and on her back,
It's
you
not
can't
on.
be
It's not on
accused
her
of-
back. It's just past it.
Okay, if your hand is visible and touching an appropriate place,
Why would you even risk it? You know what I mean? Like,
How is it
Why
a
does it
risk
matter?
to show that your hand is like touching her shoulder?
you just need one crazy person who has turned this into a thing,
Yep.
right? I mean, I just don't. I understand why it's eccentric, but like
for the Mike
why
Pence
not?
thing, I understand because there's no like evidence of like
What
photos
goes
or
on.
videos
Yeah,
of
yeah.
what goes on
Also,
behind closed
Keanu
doors.
Reeves is so beloved that.
But
I
with
think
Keanu
that-
Reeves, yeah, no one's gonna come for Keanu Reeves.
See-
And if it's a picture where he's touching someone's shoulder, there's absolutely no risk in that. I
Could
think
be a
the hover
personal
hand
space
thing
thing.
is more
Wow.
just his personal
Stop
like
making him-
weird feeling
Yeah.
about like women.
I don't think he should have to touch strange women if he doesn't want to. That's all I'm saying.
But you don't
Keanu
have to
Reeves-
take pictures with anybody ever.
Protect. Did you see the video?
But then you
of him?
become the mean. He's nice, Keanu. You know what I
Did
mean?
you see the video of him? I know that you got sick of me reporting on nice Keanu for a while.
I never liked the
I-
public image that Keanu Reeves is like the saint of a celebrity.
I think you guys are breaking up because that's Brett's most important.
I love.
Dude.
I love.
That's-
the,
You're
Nice
telling
Keanu-
me that's not a PR move? Are you really telling me that?
Yes, at least for me, most of it comes secondhand.
Oh
Dude.
man.
You
You guys are seeing it happen now. The division in pop culture, right?
And
this
I
down.
thought
Okay,
you
how
were
about this?
just as
August
cynical as
2nd.
me.
This story,
How about this?
they're breaking up.
If it is, it's done very, very well, which I can also respect. If it is PR, it's done very, very well. The video of him in the airport where the kid asks him like rapid fire questions was great. I love that one. That was.
I
that
never
came out
saw
recently.
this.
It's like a fan just comes up to him and starts excitedly asking him questions, and he very patiently sits there and answers them. It's great. We'll move on. We'll move on.
We'll fight about it later.
We'll
Don't
fight
worry.
about it later.
Do you guys know any good business couples counselors?
Yeah, we might need a.
If so, just drop their name
We
in
need
the
a
comments.
consultant up in this.
Yes.
company.
No, I was actually just thinking about we need a shirt that says "cancel the consultant class." I want to. I love the term you came
No
up with,
way.
which is
My
the
friends work-
consultant class. Defund the consultant class.
This
No.
is why I wish we still had fan mail so we could get a specific T-shirt because you know they'll send it.
I want to talk about that. Did you guys know that there's a conspiracy theory that Eminem died in 2006 and he's now a
Well, I
clone?
know now.
Yes, you do.
But I love that this is actually just a way to insult Eminem and say that he looks like shit.
Or that he
Like,
He's
what?
looking rough.
or that just the fact that he's changed.
Also, who
it
started
all.
this? Donald Trump.
Says in yet another wacky internet conspiracy, it has been claimed that
Wacky.
Eminem died in 2006 and was quite simply replaced by an Android clone.
Easy.
I love.
If you can do this to any celebrity, I mean,
It says,
go
of
for
course,
it.
we all know the likelihood of this being true is highly unlikely, but
just for
apparently
clarification, because we have to write it. This is unlikely, says this publication.
they do that all the time.
Allegedly, he was replaced with a clone.
It says, of course, we all know that the singers and rappers experience a change in voice over the years due to a number of factors, including aging and strain. But sure, being replaced by a clone is definitely one of those factors. And then they go down here, basically say in 2006, Eminem died in a car accident. The newspaper reported in their portals. Fans also decided to start picking apart his change in appearance over the years, and many pointed out a huge change in his jaw shape and overall facial
It's
structure.
like he could have gotten plastic surgery.
He could have done that.
He probably has just gotten some injections in his face that migrated somewhere they weren't supposed to.
They point out that since 2006, when he supposedly died in a car accident, the rapper has made significant changes to the lyrics he's popping out, and his style of dress has also changed, adding that he now puts a great emphasis on the hip-hop lifestyle and changed to a much darker style.
It's like, instead of being the young guy who was from Detroit, now he's like this wealthy guy who made a bunch of money.
Well, yeah. Another thing they mentioned is that he used to have very like dark lyrics and dark themes in his songs, and now ever since he went to rehab, they've not been like that.
That's very strange.
So
Rehab
it's almost
cloned
like
him.
rehab made him. They cloned him in rehab, or rehab just worked and made him a less depressed person.
And the dark stuff that was going on in his life, like I stand by. He is not the same person he was when he started his career. People you could make the same argument with
that's an awfully hot coffee pot. Remember that?
Coffee pot.
My kids keep missing curfew, and I'm gonna rap about this. Like, his struggles are not the same thing as they were back in the day.
Also, can we play this TikTok, because I was blown away that this is a really multiple part series
that Eminem did back in 2013. In this video, you'll see that he pauses for a really long time, and a lot of people think that's because his clone glitched.
Yeah, like they updated his software.
Schedule it for a different time.
That's very clearly him clowning.
I look like this all the time. What? You know it's true.
He went to rehab around 2005 or 2006. Google keeps telling me different things. People say that before he went to rehab, his music was really dark, and after he got out, it was very, very different. You can easily blame this on rehab working, but this does
You could blame it on rehab working.
I want to point out
you could blame it on rehab.
I like that
How
she's
dare
doing
they?
this satirically.
there was a lot of posts about how he made like pro-gun control statements in later years. Well, he has a song from like a long time ago from the Encore album that was like only released in the British version, a song called We as Americans, in which he espouses the importance of the Second Amendment.
That was a good song.
It was. Yes, he is now part of the elite class who's changed his views on gun control because he can afford private security. But that I don't think that's necessarily because he's a clone. I am saying that We as Americans is one of his best songs, though. So if he is a clone, I want the old guy back. If we could revive him somehow.
You want a vintage version of Eminem?
I want a vintage version.
We need another clone.
It's not that Eminem changed. It's that the culture changed, and unfortunately he conformed to it over time.
To be fair, he is just as popular now. I mean, his longevity is kind of astonishing. Like, I was thinking back to like whether I thought of him as like a one album wonder, but he's not. Like, all his albums are very, very highly sought after, and even to me, who only really loved him through like the first 3 of them, like after that still understand like how many important performances he did with other artists. But I don't think that can be attributed to being a clone, as cool as that would be.
The sad reality is just that he used to be cool, and now he is not.
Old.
He's just like kind of a try hard, like weird uncle.
I wanted to talk about this with Hannah Claire very quickly. Atlanta Music Midtown Festival canceled because of a Georgia gun law, basically. Did you know about?
So they changed the law so that it would be legal for attendees to carry at the festival, and therefore they're canceling the whole thing. It just sounds like you didn't have enough money to put it on.
It says months before the event, the Music Midtown Festival, it says months before the event, pro-gun groups had emailed and commented on the festival's social media, reminding them that in 2019, Georgia Supreme Court ruling on Georgia's Guns Everywhere law, established in 2014 and officially known as the Safe Carry Protection Act, allowed firearms on publicly owned land, including Piedmont Park, among other areas. As such, the festival would not have a legal standing to enforce its own ban, according to Rolling Stone. Wouldn't the fact that they're renting out the space cover that?
I think it depends on zoning laws and what their contract is.
Yeah.
I assume Rolling Stone did due diligence and was
Yeah.
able to find that it's not true. I mean, really, to me, this seems like a weird comment on your fans. Most gun owners are extremely responsible. If they're carrying a gun, just because they're carrying a gun doesn't mean it's ever going to be discharged anyway. So what kind of makes me feel like is like they are concerned about security already at this concert or at this festival, like a la Astroworld, and they're like, let's not bring guns into this because we already don't think we can handle it. Like, it seems like more like they are trying to cover
There was
up.
no gun violence at Astroworld.
That's what I
was
mean.
there?
Can you imagine if there was? There's a crowd rushing and then suddenly it gets worse. Like, that would be pretty tragic.
I'm surprised that there wasn't actually.
Did
Yeah.
you see that?
Because they did such a terrible job.
Terrible
of,
job.
Security.
But anyways, Travis is back. Who cares?
He got a Las Vegas residency. Travis Scott did. Like,
I think that's crazy.
It's weirdly like not fitting for his age demographic.
No, it's not.
Like the demographic of people that want to see him perform are not in Vegas.
it feels like it's
the
like
best he could do. I mean, he can't go back
money.
on tour, and he can't. That festival was like his festival. He can't be
Yeah.
without it.
he's been performing though recently, and he hasn't been.
I
booed
mean,
off
he
stage
was at
or anything.
Coachella.
Yeah, he was.
He was supposed to co-headline with Kanye.
And there was another performance that he just did recently that he helped. He came up on. He was. It wasn't his
was
concert.
he at Lollapalooza?
Yeah,
that just
like
ended.
I think he did some like side performances there, but like the thing is with all concerts and risks, right? Like the organizers could do a lot of due diligence to try and make sure that everything is good. They are doing everything they can, and something could happen, right? With this, it seems like kind of gun phobia panic, and it also seems like I think it hints at the fact that they already felt like they weren't sure they could handle security at the park. I think with Travis Scott, what bothers me about that story is that he had been charged several times before. He'd been convicted of inciting mob or violent behavior at his crowd. He's in multiple lawsuits in multiple states with people who are injured because his concerts are rowdy and because he encourages it. And so it's not exactly comparable to this, but I do think his impact with Astroworld is one of the things that's fueling this. I mean, let's also remember the Las Vegas country, what was it called? It's like a big country concert. It was in Las Vegas, and then that guy, the sniper, shot into the crowd.
I forgot
And then
about
we
that.
all stopped talking about it because that guy was
That
like
got
gone.
memory
It was
hold, yeah.
crazy. But that between those two things, I think there's a fear of large crowds, and
Yeah,
especially among people who don't really understand gun culture.
Let's finish up with Womp Womp Womp. Britney Spears. Womp
Let's
womp.
go.
Speaking of music, Britney Spears' memoir delayed due to paper shortage under.
Thanks.
Thanks, Biden.
Oh, Biden.
See, I said this to you guys before the show. Is it that there's no paper, or that she's not done, and they're like, no, we can't make it.
I don't think that she's in any state of mind to speak or write coherently.
Does anybody feel like when
this is definitely ghost written if it gets out there at
But
all?
most are. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm picturing her writing a book, and there's like 9 different ink colors and types. There's like a chapter.
It's
in
written in
and-
crayon.
yeah.
Yeah.
there's a lot of
It's
scratch and
written
sniff
with
Snickers.
magazine clippings.
Sources with direct knowledge regarding the situation told TMZ that the singer recently completed the tell-all memoir. Fact, I want somebody to fact check that. I want to know. Which is set to be published by Simon & Schuster at some point in January, but the paper shortage has hindering the plan. This is a problem right now. Thanks, Biden. This is all your fault. Moreover,
Also, is
there's
Simon & Schuster delaying any other release of their books? That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
only Britney
and by
Spears
the way,
can't get paper.
I do want to point out that this is a Breitbart article, so that's where the thanks Biden comes from.
Yeah.
We understand. I'm laughing at this. Moreover, there is no clear date with the paper on when the paper shortage will be resolved, which is the January release date has not yet been locked down. The source added.
Can we just admit that Britney
Didn't get
fell
it done.
off and didn't?
she didn't do
Finish
her
on
homework.
time.
That's
she
what
got
this is.
married. She got married. She's got to help prosecute.
Biden
her
ate
ex-
Britney's homework.
It's not Biden's.
Biden is oppressing Britney Spears.
So if you
I'll just
guys
say it now.
are waiting for the Britney Spears tell-all book, go and message POTUS and say you need him to get this fixed ASAP.
Also,
This is a free speech travesty.
Also,
is.
let's ask Simon & Schuster, like, what else are you delaying? Because if they don't have another thing on the list, it's discriminatory towards Britney. Maybe her
Totally.
copy's really bad. They're like, we don't have paper to print this on. Oh no.
If it's anything like the cadence of her Instagram captions, she's gonna need a long editorial process.
What if that's what she turned in, and there's some poor editor
and they're
who's
like,
what do I even do?
Yeah, they don't even know where to begin.
They won't be done by then because they have to like do so much restructuring.
Like even just the punctuation she uses on social media is like whack.
How much more do we need for another crisis party? I can't tell. I need
2 cents. Don't send it yourself, Brett.
One of these days, I'm gonna.
You need 2 cents for.
It's not 2 cents. I want the main picture to be one of her Instagram photos with her bad phone camera. Like I don't want
the cover of the book.
I don't want the cover of the book to be some glamorized photo of her. I want a picture of her in her room, like with the bad lighting and the bad camera. That would be on brand for Britney.
I think there are already so many well-written books about Britney and her life and the controversy of her conservatorship that a tell-all memoir that's also written by somebody else isn't that interesting. It's not a huge loss to the culture that it's getting delayed, in my opinion.
Let's do the super chats.
Yes. Jonathan Harris said, Chris Brown can't be canceled because the people that need to cancel him love him. Meaning women?
That's an interesting thing. It's like maybe the idea is like just build up a platform of really, really loyal people really quickly so that they can't cancel you. But then it's kind of like with all the artists who end up finding success after the fact, right? They do it by having to hustle and do their own work. Chris Brown still has the media apparatus behind him, right? Like he's not publishing his own music. It's still an album, like a publisher or like a record label publishing his music. He's not doing his own video packages and stuff like that.
I like that he's also not known for being preachy about other...
Because he knows he has no room
Because he knows he has no room to talk. I almost appreciate that.
I'm with you.
Bad App said, I want to take intimate pics with Brett's ankles.
I'm going to charge a lot more than Chris Brown did, that's for sure.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, for Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Third crisis party. He also said, for Brett, I'm a man of my word.
He actually did it. That's incredible.
Thank you for following through.
Yes. That is incredible.
That's so cool. I love this. It makes me feel so relaxed.
It's the only time that police cop lights. It's the only time cop lights behind you doesn't feel like
I'm
a
gonna
bad
get
thing.
pulled over one day and just feel really happy.
like the cop comes up and you're like,
he's like, okay,
like
we're
I'm doing a
her.
good job. My fans are happy.
Jonathan Harris said his rehab was MK Ultra training.
Maybe that's
I mean, that's almost too real.
That could be it.
They do that. Johnny Beck said, oh, it's just it's like a little animated like video game controller.
Ooh.
Critical hit. Thank you. Nessa Ludden said, just for Hannah.
That's my friend.
Aww.
Vanessa. Yes.
Not for Brett.
Not for me, which
wow.
feels very pointed.
Wow.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Caper2X said for Hannah Claire's wedding and librarian fund.
Good. Excellent. I appreciate the support team.
Oh, Johnny Beck also sent us a thumbs up. Thank you. Bobcat said, are you aware of the current mess involving Catalyst Games firing one of the best writers in Battletech?
I saw something on it earlier, but video game stuff I usually push to the side and save for Dane because Dane is the video game.
You can say it because I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, I just like I said, if there's something about gun laws preventing a concert from getting done, we go to Hannah Claire.
All the boring stuff comes to me, but exciting stuff goes to Dane. I get you.
Legalese, we take to Hannah Claire. Cool video game stuff, we take to Dane. That's just how it is here.
I am the school marm.
You will get profiled here and pigeonholed on pop culture.
It's what happens.
I love to have a role that I'm playing. I like to serve the team, you know?
And we thank you for that so much.
You're a team player.
Hannah Claire, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast. As you know, I'm a huge pop culture crisis fan, so I'm always happy to be on.
I do laugh at sometimes like people like even Lydia's like, I'm a big fan of pop culture crisis. She's like, not a fan of pop culture, but I love this show. So it gives people a chance to talk about stuff.
I wish like people could be on with you guys. It is so fun, genuinely talk to both of you because you're both like very intelligent and just interesting. So I hope that conveys in the audience. I love being here.
We have a lot of fun. Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on Gab at hannahclaireb. And you can find me, of course, on timcast.com. Click on the read tab.
Beautifully executed that time. Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. I can only do it here.
You
I cannot
stuck
do
that
it anywhere
landing.
else. But yeah, seriously, go to the read tab. I'm there 5 times a day.
Perfect. There's a couple more super chats, and then let them know where they can find you, Mary.
Okay. Jake T said, CT native here, go Whalers.
Oh, hey. Yes.
He really
the Whalers
knows
are
your
the best.
lore.
That's
Huh.
excellent. I kept saying the first time I ever did IRL, I was going for a run. And so I had my Whalers shirt on. And I have been saying I have my Whalers jersey. I should wear it the next time I'm on. And I have never had enough time to go home and get it before I'm on IRL. But one of these days I will. Yeah, go Whalers.
Perfect. Where can I know you're not going to read
I'm
that
not going to
next
read
one.
that bad app. Anyways, you can find me on Instagram or WeChat at CloserKitty. And whenever I post articles on timcast.com, I promote them there.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. The viewers actually, like the current viewer count went up and up, and so
great.
it means a lot to us that you come out here to watch us talk about this stuff. We have a lot of fun interacting with you guys. If you can like the video, that helps a lot. Leave comments on the video, that helps a lot. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. The podcast is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. We are also on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, if you'd prefer to listen, but why would you want to do that? You can be here live. That's so much more fun. And then on Facebook and Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis, on Twitter at Pop Culture Crisis, at Pop Culture _show, and on what's the last one? Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow, guys. See you then.
Bye.